All sports, all the time.
There's heroes and there's legends. Heroes get remembered. Legends never die.
This is the Spoken Podcast.
Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime.
I'm your host, Lance Twidwell.
Man, that kid, he can ball, man. He can ball.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Patrick freaking Mahomes, baby!
Let's talk some sports because that's what we're here to do.
You are tuned in to the Spoken.
This is the Spoken Podcast where our brackets are busted and it's only okay to trade away players for a super team if Kobe Bryant says it. I am your host, Lance Twidwell, here with my guys, Eddie Ortiz and Trevor Twidwell.
What up?
We're really excited to be here again tonight, guys. We're recording a little bit later tonight for whatever circumstances. I think we just kind of felt like let's make it a little bit later. No, I'm just kidding. It's just circumstances. Let's just put it like that. Life comes at us.
We just wasn't prepared.
Yeah,
you can
right.
blame me. It's fine. Just blame me.
Yeah, I was at ballet recital. So
he's not lying either, guys. So just so y'all know.
So we are in the midst of March Madness. Day 2 is actually wrapping up as we speak. I believe Duke is finishing up their game. There's been some insane upsets to this point. Like I said, I was not kidding when I said most of our brackets are busted. I will say I do have 7 of my 8 Elite 8 teams still intact. So I'm feeling okay about it. But holy hell, yesterday was brutal with Minnesota. Who they beat? I forget, but Minnesota totally destroyed me. Marquette got beat by Murray State, got destroyed. But we do have some bright sides to this whole thing. We're going to get to that in a second. We also want to get into the Tyreek Hill situation.
Drama.
Whatever's going on with that. We're going to get to the sources and who's talking about it, what the latest is, if there is anything new. We're going to talk about Justin Houston going to the Colts. That's a pretty big topic of discussion here in Kansas City. And we're also going to get right into free agents and the draft as far as trade assets, as far as what the Chiefs could do in the draft. We're going to get right into that, actually. Going into free agency, I had a strong feeling. I think you guys had a very strong feeling that the Chiefs are going to be very aggressive. And by the Chiefs, I mean Brett Veach. We all know how aggressive he's been already to this point, only being I think this has been a little over about a year now that he's been our GM. And he's already made a lot of moves, some good, some not so good. And we can definitely break that down. But so far, he's signed free agents such as quarterback E.J. Manuel, defensive end Dante Johnson, wide receiver Sammy Coates, wide receiver David Grayson, safety Harold Jones-Corte, I think that's how you say his last name, running back Carlos Hyde, safety Tyrann Mathieu, linebacker Damian Wilson, defensive end Alex Okafor, and cornerback Bashaud Breeland. Now, if you look across that list, you see one big-time name in Tyrann Mathieu, obviously, and then a lot of, bodies, a lot of fill gaps, a lot of guys that are going to come in here. The best part about it, though, I think we all can agree, is they're all short-term contracts. None of these guys are locked up long-term. Even Tyrann Mathieu only has a 3-year deal with only $26 million attached to him in guaranteed money. So these moves I really agree with. There's none of these that I see that I don't agree with. And I talked to you guys earlier this week. I wanted you guys to break down your guys as far as who you have. And Eddie, I want to start with you. Carlos Hyde, I think we all can agree, is a very solid pickup, especially since we know more than likely that Spencer Ware will not be back, that Damian Williams is the guy, but we need a lot of help around him because I don't think he's a premier back or he's a top 10 running back in the league, at least to this point that we've seen. So he's going to definitely need that yin to the yang. Yeah. So give us a little bit of insight on what you expect from Carlos Hyde or who you think he is, what we should expect as Chiefs fans for the fan that may not know who Carlos Hyde is.
Well, it's I want to say that hi, pretty much. Welcome to another episode of The Spoken. Let's talk about Carlos Hyde. I did a little bit of research on him. Obviously, he was with the 49ers, and then he went to I want to say the Browns, and then to the Jaguars, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So his best season was 2016 with the Niners. He rushed for 988 yards, had 6 rushing touchdowns, and 3 receiving touchdowns. I mean, that's not great for a running back, but it's still not bad. So with us having Williams as a starter and having Hyde just come right after him, I think it was a great acquisition by the Chiefs. It gives a really good depth on just the offensive side.
He's a step up too, I think, from Spencer Ware.
Yes.
You know, obviously,
yes.
I think he's a more talented guy than Spencer Ware is.
Yeah.
So, you know, if we were looking good with Spencer Ware and him, yeah.
And with Spencer Ware, I think the reason Spencer Ware left the organization is because of his injuries.
Yeah.
I think he had too many injuries. He's coming off an injury from last season. He didn't play the last 5 season games,
right?
5 regular season games. He didn't play the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I think it was time to move on from him. And Carlos Hyde is just a really good running back that we pretty much got. So, and for cheap. So
yeah,
that's
for sure. Pretty much a prove it deal.
Yeah,
just like
so
the
Chiefs don't lose anything on this deal. You know, like if they don't like him, they can be like, hey, you know, let's cut him. Let's go some other direction. Maybe draft. You know, we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Carlos Hyde is the type of back that you got to have for the Chiefs going into this season, being the guy that is going to be, like I said, be the yin to the yang. Because Damian Williams is more of a guy that's going to catch out the backfield.
Yes.
He's going to be a guy that's very versatile. He's going to get a lot of yards per carry. I think that Damian Williams is going to be that guy. Carlos Hyde, for me, is going to be a red zone guy, an end zone guy.
I mean, he can still catch the rock, though, man.
Carlos Hyde does what he does.
Versatile back.
I'm not debating
He's
that.
Definitely a bruiser.
What I'm saying is, I think that Carlos
muscle.
Hyde's skill set, because if you look at him the last year or two, Carlos Hyde was the best at getting into when he was at the goal line. He was able to get into, because all 5 of his touchdowns last year, from what I remember, were no longer than 1 yard. That was the furthest touchdown he had last season.
He's the only. Well, I don't know how much we haven't seen too much of Darrell Williams, which I like that kid a lot. I think he's more of a true back than even Damian is, because Damian's more of the scat back type of guy. You know, kind of like, you're not Kendrick West, but he's that similar kind of guy. He's not very big. He's more of a straight line speed guy, not agile to the extreme. But Carlos Hyde's going to bring that agile, jump cuts, and the moves. He's got that in him, and he can catch the rock too. I think he can. I think he could even take the spot. As
the premier running back.
Yeah, I think that can happen.
Okay. 28 years old. Like I said, he's been very effective when he's given the chance. He's been good on bad teams.
Yeah.
He's been
bad.
Obviously, he kind of fell away to the wayside these last couple of years because he was on teams that he didn't really get a shine on. Yeah. And I don't expect, let's be honest here, I'm not expecting Carlos Hyde to come in here and become a superstar running back. No. What we need him to become is just an effective player. Be complimentary, because I do believe Damian's going to get all the opportunities in the world to be the guy.
Yeah. And I mean, I think Carlos Hyde will, just because I know it's a prove it deal. And, kind of contract seasons are always undefeated, like you've mentioned before. Yes. So I can expect him to come in here and, be hungry.
Well, and how excited is he to be a part of this offense?
With Patrick Mahomes.
Knowing that he's pretty – I think I know what Beach is doing. He's creating a battle for camp. He wants these guys to battle out for position, see who's going to – and I think Carlos Hyde's going to come out on top, dude. I think he's the better back. I like Damian as
that's interesting.
I like Damian as the change of pace guy, the scat back. When we had Kareem Hunt, I think I see more Carlos Hyde coming into that Kareem Hunt role, and Damian Williams coming into the Charkandrick behind. Remember how Charkandrick would come in behind Kareem Hunt and be a part of that double package where he'd come in and Kareem Hunt would fake, and then they'd have Charkandrick run out of the backfield and catch a pass on a wheel route or something. I get to see that happen. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I think Carlos Hyde is just as talented, if not more talented, than Damian Williams.
That's interesting take.
Yeah, and we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the fact that Sausage is coming back next season. Dude. Saw that according to the Chiefs, according to Arrowhead Pride and several other sources, he did sign a 1-year deal. He's a 30-year-old fullback. I don't think
leaving, dude. He didn't want to.
Yeah, I mean, he barely had over 400 total yards over the.
But he's seen him being used more in the offense though with Patrick Mahomes.
If I'm a betting man though, I think that because of his position, and it's kind of an obsolete position at this time of the NFL.
Kind of fading out.
I think he's more of just a clubhouse guy, or not a clubhouse, but a locker room guy in the football spectrum of it. I think he's that guy that the Chiefs like having around because he boosts morale. He's a good leader. He's that kind of guy, and they're not spending big money.
I was going to say it's not that expensive to keep him around.
So I don't know, man. I'd like we've seen just in this past season with Patrick Mahomes, we've seen them using him in packages.
Sure, he's
on
good.
The goal line.
He's good.
I don't mean to come off as like I'm disrespecting the football player. I'm saying that I think the majority of the reason why he'll be back this year isn't because of what his performances will be on the field. I think it's because of who he is. Well, I think like I said, I think he's the kind of guy that you saw it at the Pro Bowl when they gave Patrick Mahomes the MVP.
Yeah.
Sherman thought he was going to get it, and him and Eric Fisher, they're back behind Pat when he's getting interviewed, going, "Wow!"
But I mean, I'm just saying, we never saw the Shermanator running wheel routes and catching wheel routes for touchdowns, dude. Was that against the Chargers?
I mean, let's be honest. That was week one. It was week one. I'll give him his props.
It was a beautiful play, though.
There's a reason why that was his only touchdown of the season.
And that was in the red zone too. And
that's a beautiful pass, though.
It was yes. It was more about Patty. I love. I'm again. I brought it up. I'm very glad we got him back. But let's be honest. I think it's more of just a leadership morale boost. He's that guy to get guys motivated. He's that guy. So I'm really glad he's back. I didn't. Nails, man. Yeah, I'm really glad he's back. I'm not upset by the signing at all. Let's move to Trevor's guy, Alex Okafor, the defensive end from the Saints. I believe he's 26, if I'm not mistaken.
26, 27.
He's had a little bit of an injury history, so that's a little cause for concern. But the Chiefs only signed him to, I believe, a 3-year, $28 million deal. And that's a really good signing in my eyes because he's the kind of guy the Chiefs really needed for multiple reasons. But I'm not going to take any more of your time. Trev, give us what you have on Alex Okafor.
Honestly, man, I didn't really even know who he was. I'm just giving you 100% honest. I had to go watch some of his film with the Saints, and I like what I saw, man. He's the polar opposite of what D Ford is. He's a little slower. He's not a speed guy. But he's extremely versatile. You can put him in pretty much any package, and I think that's what we're looking for. Yeah. You know, Andy Reid loves his Swiss Army guys, offensively and defensively. So then, which is why Tyrann Mathieu is on this team because he can do everything. But I like from the film, from what I've seen, I like what I see, man. He's the guy that can change his objective. You can tell it, like, say he has his objective is just to get to the quarterback on a play, but the play turns into a run play up the gut. He's the kind of guy that will switch that objective on the fly and attack the running back and get there. He's good at getting underneath. He's obviously not as good as getting around on the speed rush like D Ford is. That's really all D Ford does is a one-trick pony for the most part, getting around that line there around the edge. But he's not as fast, obviously, as D Ford, so he's a little sneakier. And he's versatile with his length. He depends on his strength and his length more than D Ford would on his speed. I'm trying to think. So I'm trying to see. So his contract is team friendly also. So I think he's only going to cost us about $105,000, which is nice.
And are you talking cap hit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just this season.
Okay.
Not totality, but just this season, I think it's $105,000. Like I said, he plays with a lot of power, which I think what we're going for is more of a power rush instead of a speed rush, because we were depending on a lot of Houston's power on the left and then D Ford's speed. Yeah. And it wasn't, I mean, we got sacks. Like I said, we got sacks. We weren't getting a consistent pressure on the edges. We were getting a lot of, sacks with like I said, with building out Chris Jones, pushing the middle up. But though obviously it wasn't helping our back end very much. So I say, let's see, he's good at getting to the quarterbacks, good at causing pressure, good at stirring the pot. Like I said, he's got some good moves to where he can fake on the outside and dip under, use that shoulder strength to dip under and get around and maneuver and stop the run. He's really good at stuff in the run, which I think obviously was our biggest weakness on our defense.
Yes.
So with that, I mean, that's obviously, I think the goal was to sign him was to be, I don't know if he's going to be the guy, because I know we got him on a really good deal. I don't know if he's just going to be a camp body and somebody could possibly beat him out. I don't know how good he is really until I really see him in this system. But from what I've seen in the film, man, I think he's going to be a good addition to Breland Speaks. I think they're both pretty similar guys. Mm-hmm. I think they're both power guys on both ends.
Yeah.
I mean, that's from what I've seen. He's just a bull.
Yeah,
that's strong. He's long. Yeah, I think that's what we need on the edge.
I really like this signing for, like I said, for a multitude of reasons, because he is everything that not only the Chiefs need, but what the scheme needs. The new scheme that the Chiefs are going to introduce with the 4-3. Spagnuolo. To me, he's a Spagnuolo guy.
Yeah.
Yep. Big body, long run arms. Stuffer.
Yeah,
that's what he's best at. He's not a sack guy. I think the most sacks he's ever had in a season was 6. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken. So he's not going to get to I don't think he's the kind of guy that's going to get to the quarterback often. I think he's the kind of guy that once the Chiefs know that they're going to have to stop the run for a particular game going against a big running back, he's going to be that guy.
Look at the AFC's running backs right now.
Right.
We got Kareem Hunt with the Browns now. We got Nick Chubb.
Le'Veon Bell.
Melvin Gordon. I mean, dude, that's obviously been our weakness.
Philip Lindsay.
We got to go in there. Yeah, we got to go in there and stop the run. That should
Melvin Gordon. The list goes on.
Yeah. And that's always what defenses want to do first and foremost. Is if you stop the run, you can control the pace of the game.
Yeah.
And if we can stop the run and force teams to throw against us, and that's a shootout, good luck.
Yeah, and to your point about him, coming in here, I definitely think that the Chiefs have every intention in mind to have him as a guy for the next couple of years. I don't think the Chiefs would sign him to a 3-year, $28 million deal unless they felt like he was going to be given every opportunity to be to not only be a starter this year, but starter for the next couple of years.
Yeah.
So I definitely think he's going to be that guy unless somebody comes in here from the draft and just blows him out of the water.
Yeah.
I don't see them spending that kind of money, even though it's not a lot guaranteed.
Yeah.
I don't see them doing that unless they felt like, okay, this is a guy that
also
we're
to
going to
that. I mean, I from watching his film and a lot of his tape, he also is pretty decent in coverage for not being very fast. He's got good awareness, which I like, because D Ford is obviously clueless whenever he had to go in coverage, which I don't think he's going to be in coverage much in this scheme. But if he's forced to go into coverage or have to chase down a running or track down a running back when he's making an open field tackle, he's shown that he can do that, which is nice. And he's really good at getting underneath, like I said, and knocking quarterbacks out of their comfort zone, out of their spot, and causing pressure. Maybe not getting the sack, but causing pressure. So I mean, and that'll allow Chris Jones to sneak in there and eat somebody alive. So
I like it as long as you're giving Chris Jones the support he needs is everything.
And working together with him.
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. And so moving on to the guy I did my homework on this week is actually the Chiefs cornerback they just signed, Rashad Breeland.
Love it, man.
Signing him to a 1-year deal. The max value of it's only $5 million.
It's a prove-it deal. I love it. He's going to be motivated.
He signed with the Packers in September, and he didn't play until week 9 due to hamstring and groin injuries, but played great in those 7 games. With 16 solo tackles, 20 total, 4 passes defended, 2 interceptions, 1 tackle for loss. He also managed to hoist the second lowest the second lowest passer rating against cornerbacks in the NFL from week 10 to 17. Spent 4 seasons previously with Washington, only missed 4 games in that span, so he's pretty durable. Tallied up 261 tackles, 206 of them were solo, which is big for a cornerback, the position that's not known to tackle well. 60 passes defended, 9 tackles for loss, 8 interceptions, 7 forced fumbles. In 2017, his best season was to date. He had 19 passes defended. That ranked him 5th best in the NFL that season. Had at least 1 pass broken up in all but 2 of his 15 games. I'm sorry. His 60 passes defended from 2014 to 17 ranked 4th in the NFL. His 7 forced fumbles were 3rd best amongst all cornerbacks in that span.
Man.
So he can turn the ball over, not only with interceptions, but forcing fumbles. Also, he's already played. This is the best part. That's my favorite part. He's former teammates with Kendall Fuller. They played together in Washington from 2016 to 2017. Played all but 1 game together in 2017, combining for 8 interceptions, 40 passes defended in their 2 seasons together, and they are back together.
Hell yeah, man.
I'm really excited about this signing because if you guys remember, last season the Chiefs really wanted to land Rashad Breeland. He actually went for the money. The Panthers, if I'm not mistaken, offered him a 3-year, $24 million deal, but he had some sort of foot infection that caused that deal to be kaput, and then the Packers swooped in, got him on that small deal, proved himself very well. And I'm pretty shocked the Chiefs got him this time.
Veach wanted him.
Veach wanted him though. Yeah. And that's I guess that's the part that doesn't shock me so much, is because when he wants somebody, he usually goes and gets him.
I love it, man.
Not speaking about Earl Thomas, but yes, I mean,
we almost did.
But I mean, yeah.
And so I think that Rashad is the kind of guy that you can plug in immediately, will make an ultimate difference, because there's the question, is he better than Steven Nelson?
Yeah.
I think as an individual player,
yes.
I think there's things that Steven Nelson did better.
He's way more consistent.
But here's the thing. I think in this current, this is what it all comes down to. Because I think D Ford will probably be better as an individual player than maybe one guy that we get to replace him. But in this scheme, that doesn't matter as far as talent. It's what you can do within the scheme. Because there's a lot of guys. I always go back to the 2018 Patriots defense. You can't name me 4 or 5 defenders on that defense, but because the scheme was so effective and Belichick had them so prepared, it did not matter. Those guys, as long as they did their job, the defense worked.
Well, and I think the difference between him and Steven Nelson specifically is the IQ. Rashad's a veteran who's seen it, and I think he's a little less athletic than Steven Nelson. I think Steven Nelson's a better athlete, but I think Rashad makes up with that with his IQ and his overall just presence. And he's not the guy that's going to get picked on. We've seen how many times, I don't know, game after game, we saw Steven Nelson getting picked on, right? By the opposing offenses. So I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think a lot of people are going to want to throw Rashad's way, because he's a guy that doesn't break coverage much. He doesn't, get distracted. He's a very keyed in, focused kind of player, and a veteran, which you said we have already got chemistry with Fuller, which is perfect. So I think that's going to be, he's the less athletic version of Steven Nelson, but he's the better version, I believe.
And I think it also takes the pressure off of the Chiefs from having to go cornerback in the draft, because I don't think that's the position they want to go in the first round.
We might still do it through trade.
Yes, and I'm still very much on team trade for Patrick Peterson.
Shit, you might have to go wide receiver.
I'm still. We're going to get to that in a second, but I'm still very much on that belief. I think if there's any chance the Cardinals would be willing to move Patrick Peterson, I'm going to stick with that. It probably won't happen.
Or Ramsey, dude. Don't count that out either.
Jalen Ramsey. See, here's the interesting thing about Jalen
though.
Ramsey. He's 4 years younger than Patrick Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to demand a lot more in return. The Jacksonville Jaguars have all the control because I think he still has 2 years left on his deal.
Man, how stoked will he be to be in Kansas City to play on this team? Though?
Right, and he's not even in his prime yet, technically. So the Chiefs would have to give up at least a first-round pick, and I don't think the Chiefs want to do that. I know that they're all in.
First-round talent.
The thing
Not
about
this draft, anyways.
yes, because I do think the Chiefs have said, look, it would be great to have a Jalen Ramsey on our team, but we have a first-round need, and that's getting edge rush, and that's what I was going to get to in this actual segment. Yeah, because go ahead, Trev.
No, I'm saying I just don't know. There's not many edge rushers left in free agency. I mean, I know the draft's got some decent young talent, but those are always unpredictable. They can come in and be absolutely trash or be absolutely injury prone when they get hit by the big time boys. Yeah, I think getting a guy like who are we just talking about right now?
You talking about wait? You talking about Jalen Ramsey?
Jalen Ramsey.
Sorry. Oh, okay.
Yeah, getting a guy like I just drew a blank right now. Getting a guy like Jalen Ramsey is a proven commodity. Is a top 2, maybe the best corner in the league right now when he's on his game. You know, and he's mouthy. He gets in people's heads. I kind of want a nasty guy on our defense. Man, we don't. I know Tyrann Mathieu is that guy too, but man, just having like a corner that would just shut down an entire side of the field while having Rashad Breeland on the other side would just be. I mean, if this defense gets top 10, it's over, dude.
Yeah.
That's how I see it because this offense is already going to be top 5.
To improve from 31st to top 10.
He would put this defense over the top absolutely if we had 2 corners like Rashad Breeland on one side and then him on the other side would just be.
Well, I mean, where do you leave Kendall Fuller at though?
Well, Kendall Fuller is going to be covering the slot, but I'm just saying like just having that rotation.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Just having that much talent. And then Tyrann Mathieu floating around, making plays and feeling like he can just be free and make plays. Just that's the dream, man. But I mean, as far as edge rushers, I would rather instead of Ramsey, I'd rather see us go try to get Clowney, Jadeveon Clowney, because that's an option too. We could definitely trade and try.
I don't see him leaving the Texans though. I don't see the Texans even getting rid of him. The
Texans aren't a contender right now.
They franchise tagged him, and well, you might not think the Texans are a contender. They believe they are.
Yes,
they have a franchise quarterback.
Apart, though.
I understand they have a franchise quarterback. DeAndre Hopkins might be the best receiver in football right now.
The offense as a whole isn't very good.
I understand. I'm saying that they think in themselves as they are currently constructed, plus the draft, I think they believe they would be a contender.
Got a good coach.
Jadeveon Clowney got the franchise tag, so I understand why people think the Chiefs would trade for him.
Or Ziggy Ansah.
Here's the thing, though, in particular with Jadeveon Clowney. Yeah. It's the same thing with Jalen Ramsey. They are going to say, look, you're an AFC opponent. You're probably the best team in the AFC. You think we're going to give you him for, a mud whistle? That ain't happening.
Yeah, the only thing that gives me pause with Jadeveon is his injury history, too. He's had injury, but he's been pretty consistent the last couple of seasons. But man, just pulling him out of that team would be awesome too.
Yeah, sure.
But
you're talking multiple valuable picks. And I'm fine with going all in. It's just
I don't see the Chiefs giving away picks.
No, dude. Right now,
year.
we've seen such a change of culture in Kansas City with what Veach is bringing.
I don't think the Chiefs can afford to give away any first round picks right now.
Well, I think they can.
Man, if it's a proven commodity, I would.
It is an all in year. Let's make that perfectly clear. 2019 is an all in year. Is Jadeveon Clowney worth what you would have to give up for that all in year? Do you believe if you put him on this team right now that all of a sudden he catapults you to a different level with the defense currently constructed? I think so. Yes. But I would rather the Chiefs go and lock up young, talented defenders through the draft and give them an opportunity. Because like I said, my whole stance has been this. On the defensive side, I'm not as worried about just names, especially in the front seven. Well, if you can make an effective scheme and get those guys around you that are buying into the scheme, they will be the ones that make it happen. Because like I said, and I'll say it again, I keep saying it, the Patriots, look at them. Look what they did against the Chiefs in that first half.
Yeah,
you can name me how many defenders on that defense.
Well, and two with Okafor coming in, he could fill in that Allen Bailey role, and we could put Clowney on the outside.
Sure,
and that would be having Clowney, Okafor, Breeland, and Chris Jones. That's a package, man. Yeah. So I don't know. This is all speculation, obviously, but it's just fun to think of, getting one of those elite corners, or one of those elite edge rushers that would put us over the top. And if we can, like I said, if we can be top 15, top 10 defense. man, the sky's the limit for this team.
So I'm guessing either go Clowney or take that gamble on the draft.
Well, we can definitely get to that
saying.
on the other side of this break that we're about to go on. I think if the Chiefs were to, let's say if we woke up tomorrow morning, we heard the Chiefs traded for Jadeveon Clowney, my first thought would be, what were they willing to give up for him? Because like I said, the leverage is all on the Texans side. Yeah. They're an AFC opponent with him franchise tag. For all we know, they could franchise tag him again after this season, or they could sign him to a long-term deal. They have no reason in the world to trade him unless they were given an offer they could not refuse. Yeah. So we're talking the Chiefs would have to give up, this year's first-round pick, maybe even next year's. There's a lot of like I'm saying, the Texans would ask for a lot, everything, and the Chiefs would have to be willing to give that up because they have really no bargaining chip in this. Yeah. Because unless I'm completely wrong, the Texans, I believe, have the 23rd overall pick, 24th overall pick. So they'd be taking the 29th overall pick. So they're not even getting a better pick than what they currently have. So the Chiefs would have to super sweeten up that deal. And I just don't see it happening.
There's a lot of talented defensive players in this draft too. So, I mean, I understand. I mean, going either way, I think Veach is going to make some good picks if we stick to the draft. I trust him right now. I mean, obviously we'll have to see how Breland becomes as a player, but yeah, I mean, I think either route we go, I'm trusting in Veach right now.
Sure, and I'm with you guys. I think we all can agree that Veach will be aggressive.
Yeah.
He has to be.
He will be.
That's his reputation. There's more moves to come, man.
Yeah, and that's what I think is going to happen. I think that there is another move in free agency the Chiefs are going to make, or in a trade for a current player. I do think that's going to happen. There's going to be something else that happens before, because they do have the cap space, especially like we're going to talk about with the Tyreek Hill situation. They probably got a lot more cap space than they probably planned on initially to use. So we're going to get in that as well. But the next segment, when we get back, guys, we're going to talk a little bit about the draft, what we expect. We're not going to name drop a bunch of players. Maybe I will a little bit. I'm lying a little bit, but we're gonna talk in particular with what we think the Chiefs are going to do. Are they going to be super aggressive, or are they just going to be aggressive with the style of player they go after? So we'll get back to that after this. Located in the historic Westport district, Modern Man Supply Company is your Kansas City's new home for men's retail. From apparel to pomade and home goods to beard care, they offer a wide range of men's products from independent companies from around the world. Follow them at Modern Man Supply Company on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Commandeer is Kansas City's alternative apparel brand. They make unique Kansas City-themed clothing and accessories with a countercultural appeal. Find them online at commandeerbrand.com or follow them at Commandeer Brand on Instagram or Facebook. Back at it on the Spoken Podcast. I'm your host, Lance Twidwell, with my guy, Eddie Ortiz, and Trevor Twidwell.
What up?
We are recording in the KC Beard Co. studios. We left off regarding the Chiefs free agent moves, how aggressive Brett Veach has been. And then we're going to also touch a little bit on this side of it, a little bit more about the draft. Now, for me, the draft is very speculative, and I think all of us can agree to that. We're not experts on the draft. I would definitely recommend you go and see my guys, Kent Swanson, Craig Stout over at Arrowhead Pride. They're the ones you want to listen to when it comes down to breaking players down. Sure. All those guys have been amazing. Definitely go listen to their podcast. They've been incredible. I listen to it every single week. I feel like I learn a lot, but still, I'm no expert as far as what players. I have a few guys that I'd love to touch on as far as the draft and what position I'd love to see the Chiefs go after. I'll go out and just say it right now, guys. I fully expect that the Chiefs are going to trade up in this draft.
Yeah,
I think that we brought it up last week with the D Ford trade. Mm-hmm. A lot of people were questioning, the value of that pick, or they didn't get enough back. But what people don't understand is that pick is not only going to be a high pick next year, because I don't expect the Niners to be a great team by any means. No. So it's going to be a top 20 pick in the second round. So it'll be a let's say a top 50, 55 pick in the NFL or in the draft next season. So the Chiefs are never going to see that pick. They're going to use that to either trade for a player currently, like I said, Patrick Peterson, that'd be beautiful, or they're going to trade in this draft to move up. Now, how far up, I don't know. It's every pick is valuable. You saw how much the Chiefs had to give up in order to move 17 spots to get Patrick Mahomes in the 2017 draft. You're talking 2 first-round picks, and I believe another additional pick. So you had to give up a lot to move up that many spots. I don't expect the Chiefs to move up in the top 10. I don't even really expect the Chiefs to move up in the top 15. But I do expect the Chiefs to move up within the 25 to 20 range. Yeah. I see them moving up 4 to 10 spots. So that's what I think they're going to do. And I have a couple names that I think I'd like to bring up. I think they would be great additions immediately, because that's what Chiefs are going to need. If they're going to sit back and not sign big edge rushers, like I said, trade for a Jadeveon Clowney, go and get a Ziggy Ansah, guys like that, or even a Jamie Collins, like we're going to talk about in a second, Trev. You brought him up in the break.
Yeah.
if they're not going to do that, they're going to be aggressive and get a guy that plug in immediately will be an effective player day one, week one. Okay. And obviously, let's just get it out of the way. The Chiefs are not going to get Nick Bosa. They cannot touch him.
Sadly, no.
If it wasn't for Kyler Murray that we know is going to now go to the Cardinals, according to Benjamin Albright, Josh Rosen is probably going to be going to the Los Angeles Chargers. That has been official, obviously, but he's been tweeting some hints about that. You can go check that out on Twitter yourself at Albright NFL. But I definitely think that if it wasn't Kyler Murray going to the Cardinals, it would be Nick Bosa first overall.
Yeah.
He's probably the best player in this draft.
Stud, man.
Unbelievable. He comes from a family of just legacy. Joey Bosa, his older brother, playing for the Chargers, complete stud. One offensive player of the year, even though he missed a few games to start the season. He's offensive player of the year. Defensive player. I'm sorry.
I'm not worried about my brain.
It's okay.
I'm still holding that L from I'm telling you guys to put your phone on vibrate. Mine goes off in the middle of the first segment.
Yeah,
but
way to go, man.
To not ramble too much, these are the guys that I see coming off the board that I think the Chiefs could potentially trade for. And like I said, you're talking about giving up many picks for these types of guys, but if they believe in them, they're going to go after them.
Yeah.
The first name that comes off the board is Rashawn Gary out of Michigan. 6'5", 287 pounds. He had 43 tackles, 7.5 of those were for loss. Only 3.5 sacks, missed 3 games with an AC shoulder joint sprain and didn't play in their bowl game. But here's the beautiful thing about it. He has an insane NFL talent with his strength, speed, and size. A great fit for the base end of a 4-3 defense. So although he wasn't a great sack guy, what I love about him is he's a great for the base defense. So he would complement Chris Jones and Alex Okafor on the other side to where he is helping keep that run game in check. And they've noticed, like you said, that he can tackle in the backfield.
Yeah, and I think this defense is really focused. I think Veach is really focused on, and Spags obviously are really focused on stopping the run.
Yes,
because that's what's gashed our defense and made our defense so trash, man. Is because honestly, our secondary wasn't bad last year. We didn't allow a ton of the yardage was coming from the ground most of the games, and that's what opened up our let them open up all their offenses because every team knew they can just run on us. So.
Right. And the second name, because they are projecting Rashawn Gary to be a top 20 pick, just because of his freak abilities.
But he could drop for sure.
The second guy I have on my list is Ja'Kai White from Florida. He's 6'2", 260 pounds. He's a junior. Dude has an absolute force. He's an absolute force on the edge last season in that 4-3 defense. He had been noted by WalterFootball.com that he was a, quote, odd body shape, but he could be a good rotational edge rush in a 4-3 and would fit well in a 3-4 as an outside linebacker, which would probably be his best fit in the NFL. He has a natural feel as a pass rusher with speed, athleticism, his moves, and has a nose for getting to the quarterback. So he's probably going to end up being on a 3-4 defense. I think he's going to fit that better. But if you're able to get to the quarterback and you can adjust to any style, I think that you'd be an effective player regardless of what defensive scheme you're in. I think the Chiefs would definitely take an athletic, because I think that's what we're looking for, guys that can fit a scheme. Yeah. And if he can fit this and be the kind of guy that has, like they said, a nose for getting to the quarterback, if you're not getting 15 sacks a season, but you're hitting the quarterback, that's what I think the Chiefs are looking for.
Oh, yeah. And then obviously, how excited are you as a young stud defensive player coming into this defense, knowing how much this defense struggled last year, knowing that you could be a part of changing the trajectory of this defense and being, it could, we drafting one of these guys early could be a day one starter and being a difference maker. How exciting would that be as a young guy knowing, you could come in and be a piece of that?
It'd be a badge of honor for sure, man.
Working around Chris Jones, that's just a blast.
You're literally taking this defense from the floor up. Yeah. I mean, it could not be any worse than what it was last season.
Can't get any worse.
They led the league in sacks last year, but the defense looked atrocious when it mattered the most. They got to be a complete package, and these are the kind of guys that I think would make an immediate impact. Because let's be honest, like we talked about last week, if the Chiefs defense comes in next season and can't get to the quarterback, what is the one thing the Chiefs fans are going to be clamoring about? Mm-hmm. Well, why the hell did we get rid of Dee Ford? Why didn't we figure out a way to keep Justin Houston?
Why would fire Bob Sutton?
What is? I don't think that's ever going to happen. But let's be honest.
You'll get those questions.
Oh Jesus! I hope to God not.
You will.
I hope to God
you will.
But
like, one of those games that they can't get a sack, they'll be like, "Where's Bob Sutton?
Yeah,
Where's Dee Ford?
I miss Bob."
Yeah,
I'll unplug for life if that ever. I swear, if I hear somebody miss Bob Sutton, my ass, dude, that cannot happen. But another name, and a lot of the guys at Arrowhead Pride have actually been swearing by this guy, and this is actually a guy that may even fall to the Chiefs if they were lucky. But I mean, obviously, I think, like I said, if they're gonna go for an edge rusher, I think they will trade up to make sure they get their guy. Yeah. That's Clelin Ferrell out of Clemson. And the Chiefs did just draft Dorian O'Daniel out of Clemson too. So they have a thing for Clemson guys, at least of late.
Too.
He recorded 55 tackles with 11.5 sacks, 19.5 tackles for loss, 4 passes batted, and 3 forced fumbles during the 2018 season.
Yeah.
Returning from school from 2018 looks like it was a wise decision on his part because he improved in his run defense and was more stout and as fast and as explosive over the course of the season. As a result, some team sources are projecting Farrell as a mid to late first-round pick in the 2019 draft. Now, this is the kind of guy that more than likely is going to end up being a Chief. If the Chiefs really want to get their guy, I think Clelin Ferrell is going to be that guy. He fits the defense, I think, the best of these 3. If we're going by talent, I'm naming the 3 off the way I did. But if we're looking at just sheer ability, and I think the guy that would fit what they're trying to do, I think Clelin Ferrell. And again, I trust my guys at Arrowhead Pride. I swear by them. And I think they're right about it. I think that if they're going to trade up, they're going to trade up about 5 to 10 spots, and that will be their guy because the first 2 guys will more than likely be gone. What do you think about Clelin Ferrell?
I mean, I like you said, you gave me the numbers, and I mean, those numbers definitely sound intriguing. And obviously, players coming from Clemson, those well-coached defensive teams, they're known for that. Clemson, Alabama, great programs like that that are constantly in competitive and playing with the top players, about as close as you can get to playing for an NFL level.
Right.
Those are usually the guys that are ready to come in and be day one starters. So, yeah, I mean, if, the guys you named are all for him, I mean, then I kind of have to be on page or on board with that as well. I mean, that sounds like a player that I definitely wouldn't mind seeing us picking.
My God, when you're talking about 55 tackles, 11.5 sacks, 19.5 tackles for a loss.
That's impressive.
When you're in the spotlight constantly with Dabo Swinney and that team out there, constantly on TV, winning a national championship, these guys are constantly under pressure. And for him to perform like that at that stage, I feel very comfortable going for a guy like that because he's fully aware of it. Yeah. He knows the pressure. He understands. Now, the NFL is a different game. Let's not pretend like it's not. But like Trevor just said, it's about as close as it gets to playing at the NFL level. And they whooped that Alabama ass this year.
Yeah, like it was no joke.
Yes. So those are the kind of guys I would feel very comfortable with.
And like that, or Dorian O'Daniel probably knows him.
Yes.
They went through the same program. So having that chemistry as well would be nice. And I think Dorian's going to have a year this year, man.
Well, we could talk about that for sure.
I love that
I'm a big Dorian guy myself.
Yeah.
I think he's going to, at the will, I think he's definitely going to.
Swiss Army guy. I love him, man.
Yeah.
He tackles so well.
But I'm going to flip it on you guys a little bit because I think, and I want to play both sides of this because like I said, I think we all can consensus agree that the Chiefs are probably going to trade up. But what if they don't?
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. This might shock you a little bit, and I've been thinking about it a lot, but it actually makes a fuck ton of sense. And again, I fully expect it. But if they don't and they sit at 29, what if the Chiefs went tight end?
Man, you beat me to it. I was going to say it right now. And I think we will. At some point in this draft, we're taking a tight end. And this is a great tight end draft.
It is.
So much talent.
It really is.
And the new way tight ends are coming in, man. Tight end is changing, dude. Even in the NCAA and the NFL, it's becoming pretty much just a receiver, an extra receiver. And I love it. I mean, obviously we don't have any tight end depth behind Travis Kelce. And if Kelce goes down, we're going to be screwed if we don't have another. And we've seen guys like, what's his name? Henry from the Chargers, who's a talented guy. Obviously he's been banged up, but we've seen these tight ends come in and be playmakers for some of these teams. Obviously I thought I was waiting to see if we were going to make a move for like Jared Cook, but obviously that didn't happen. And I think Demetrius Harris is gone.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's wide open.
Incompletrius Harris. Let's be real here.
Drops
all that weed, like Shaggy Shane likes to call him.
Man. Yeah, but I mean, the stage is set for us to take a tight end. It's almost like a guarantee at this point for me. I've been waiting to see, and I don't know a lot of the names, but I've been hearing, guys talk on the radio and stuff about, this being a good tight end class. But I definitely expect it to happen. Maybe with our first 3 picks for sure.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. Well, and I'm all for it.
I thought I was going to flip your guys' lid with that one.
I was waiting for it.
You've actually told me that before. And
okay.
At first, I was a little like, we don't need it, maybe. But then, like, we need depth.
Yeah.
So I can see one of the second round picks. Not necessarily the first, but I can see the second round pick for sure.
And I look at it too, like, remember how Aaron Hernandez and Gronk were?
Yes.
And I feel like we're becoming the new. I know this is so cliche and so over the top to say, we're becoming the new Patriots, but Veach is doing a lot of the same things that Belichick would do. Cutting guys, letting guys walk that are big names that deserve big money. But no, you know what? If we don't want to pay you, we're gonna let you walk. and then going and drafting young guys and making moves, aggressive moves and making guys that fit the system that you want. And I think that could definitely, we can go and do a 2 tight end set and, having 2 major athletic big tight ends with great hands, running slants and cross routes and, underneath routes and curl routes and stuff like that. They could be deadly, man.
Yeah.
Look how much Travis Kelce feasted. Imagine having another guy just as athletic and big as he is. Yeah. Man, dude.
Well, and you talk about Veach making the unpopular opinion or making the unpopular move. Making moves finally. That's what I love about what he's doing. He's making moves that are kind of pissing Chiefs fans off or making them feel uncomfortable.
Good.
But they're the right moves.
Yeah.
Good.
For the first time, we have a GM that has the
We're
balls
so
to
used
make
to
that
balls,
move.
yeah.
We're so
finally.
used to mediocrity and shriveled dick moves, man.
Yes.
It pisses me off. And he's out here just showing his donkey dick.
Well,
and I love it.
feel like doing this would be a way of doing that.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think that they're going to sit at 29. I don't.
No.
I fully expect.
He's too aggressive.
But
man.
here's the name. I think it's blatantly obvious what the Chiefs have to do. If they were to take a tight end, it is T.J. Hawkinson out of Iowa.
Yeah.
Has to be.
I was just reading on him right now.
T.J. Hawkinson. This is the guy. I first heard him from Craig Stout.
Could be a day one starter.
I heard Craig talk about him on 610 one night with Jay Binkley, which I'm going to have an announcement about that at the end of the show. But they were talking one night on 610 Sports Radio, and that was the guy that him and Kent Swanson have both swore by was T.J. Hawkinson. And I'm going to give you guys a little bit of insight because a lot of people maybe don't understand the value or how great T.J. Hawkinson is. But I'm going to tell you a little bit. He's a 21-year-old junior out of Iowa. He's 6'5", 220 pounds, and has already drawn comparisons to not only George Kittle, but to our Travis Kelce.
Like it.
Who's 6'4", 249 pounds himself. Hawkinson has a 32.5 inch reach in arms and has a 9.5 inch hand. Big hands mean what? Big catches.
Yeah. I was gonna say that.
Like I said, NFL.com has compared him to Travis Kelce and George Kittle. And I could show you guys the list, and I actually wrote all this down because I wanted you guys to hear the praise that Hawkinson has gotten since he's been doing the draft. The overview is, in a draft that feels light on high-end talent, this is according to NFL.com, Hawkinson is ascending talent with a chance to become one of the best all-around tight ends in the game. He should continue to fill out his athletic frame, but he's already a sound inline blocker. That's humongous right there. With the toughness to sustain and finish. His above-average athleticism and separation burst will help him win against linebackers while his body control and hands give him an advantage over safeties. Hawkinson has standout talent and fits any scheme, but he could be covered early by teams looking to delve more heavily in the 12 personnel. That is what I want the Chiefs to start doing.
Travis Kelce.
Yes, because the Chiefs have not been able to do that pretty much since Travis Kelce's been here to run 12 personnel. What 12 personnel is having two tight ends set. That is so dangerous, especially when you have 2 athletically gifted tight ends.
2 tight ends you can throw a bubble screen to.
Yeah.
Right.
And take it to the house like we've seen Travis Kelce.
or having the ability to have 2, because Travis Kelce's an underrated blocker too.
For sure.
So
absolutely.
You have those 2 guys that can run in 12 personnel. If they ran the 12 personnel just 40% of the time, you set up the play action, you set up the run game, the A-B gaps, everything would open wide open, making Damian Williams and Carlos Hyde and Darrell Williams' job so much easier to run the ball at an effective rate.
Imagine having to defend that.
That's what I'm saying.
Having tried to read the package before, reading the plays before. I mean, you don't know what's coming, man.
Right. And here's a few of Hawkinson's strengths. Competitive and athletic, bursts upfield with stance fitting early separation and seam, long stride into one-step cut to uncover underneath, fluid and fast and intermediate and deep work, runs leveraged, sharp routes and stacks tight coverage, accelerates off of cuts and turns to separate, intelligent use of frame to switch or to shield the catch point, able to create latch catch space and secure with sticky hands, above average catch radius and secures through contact, punches with crisp inside hands as blocker, runs feet through contact as move blocker, sustains and finishes block when he gets locked in. Now, in fairness,
describing Travis Kelce.
Exactly. That sounds like our guy. That sounds like the greatest tight end in Chiefs history. Just saying. That was shade.
Sorry, TG.
In all fairness, I will give his weaknesses because it's only fair to look on the other side of a player that is not in the league yet and it's unproven, but a guy that the Chiefs would feel comfortable with or any team would feel comfortable with. He is narrow, athletic frame, and needs additional muscle mass. Can work away from zone defender to help quarterback. High point attempts can be slightly mistimed. Gets in a big hurry as run blocker. Early overstep loses desired block centering. comes in hot up to second level targets, needs better anticipation adjustment to moving targets, can struggle to maintain reasonable anchor and pass pro.
That's just disciplinary training that he's going to get at becoming a pro.
That sounds like a 20-year-old college
about,
player.
Like him having drop C's or anything.
Right.
I can deal with all that stuff, man. That's just you know, stuff that he can work on in practice and get better at as a pro. He's still a kid, man. So, I mean, look at Travis Kelce when he first came in the league. Look at the cons. You can go read up on the cons on him too. You know, with him being, you know, kind of a hothead and, you know, dealing with character.
Shit.
I'm just saying
that kid had a problem, dude.
Right.
Andy Reid's first conversation.
I guarantee, don't fuck this up.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I guarantee his con list was much longer than that kid. So if we can get 2 Travis Kelce's, my God, man.
Well, and let's not pretend. People forget about this. Travis Kelce was a quarterback.
Yeah.
He was originally a quarterback in college.
Oh, yeah.
People forget about that.
Year one, yeah.
Year one. That's what I'm saying. He was a converted quarterback.
Demoted.
Hawkinson is a full-time tight end. This is what he knows. So even as great as Travis Kelce is,
that speaks to how great Travis Kelce is as an athlete, though.
That's what I'm saying. So,
I don't want to be a
add that.
Be an all-star tight end.
And let's be real here. Travis Kelce is the best tight end in football. It's you know, you got George Kittles, you have your Zach Ertz's, you have those guys, you have your what's his name from Cleveland, Njoku.
Oh, and Njoku.
You have those, you have these other great tight ends, but Travis Kelce does stand out, and he's going to continue to perform at a high level because of Patty. You add that extra piece, man. This offense would literally be unstoppable. I know the defense has to get better. But would it really piss you off if the Chiefs said, you know what? We're going to get the best weapon available offensively out there, and it would be TJ Hawkinson.
Like I said, this is a defensively – I mean, if we don't trade up, like you said, this is a defensively deep draft. Man, look, we've seen Andy Reid and Veach being the scout at heart that he is, find gems later on in the draft, you know, to find Kareem Hunts, find, you know, guys like that. You know, I mean, I'm all in, dude, with the movements, the way that this organization is going. So I'm just excited to see whatever move they make.
That's the beautiful thing about it, because it's an all-in year, but the draft is so deep on the defensive side that even if the Chiefs didn't make another move in free agency and went and got the best players on the defensive side, that still to me makes it feel like, oh, this is definitely an all-in year to the Chiefs because you're going to get the best players that you feel day one could make an impact. And defense or offensive side, if the Chiefs were to make a move, like I said, if they were to go and sign a Jamie Collins, you know, and he would be expensive. If they were to do that, I would feel like, okay, maybe the Chiefs are thinking about taking a tight end.
Dude, so much of this, I know we're going to get to this next, but so much of this discussion and what moves we can predict we're going to make and what moves I think Veach knows he's going to make, so much of this hinges on the Tyreek Hill situation. What if he is guilty? He's gone. That opens up a lot of movement, and maybe we would move up to go get a wide receiver or a tight end to get another weapon, or maybe we would try to trade to get another offensive weapon. Who knows? You know, so like I said, I know we'll get to that next, but a lot of this hinges on the move that we make is based on that right now.
You're 100% right.
Yeah. So
you're 100% right. And these are only scenarios that we can build on our own speculation based on the fact that, you know, this team is going to change on a daily basis. And we do know that there is a lot hinging, like Trevor said, hinging upon the investigation with Tyreek Hill. So we're going to take a short break right now, and we're going to get back to that. Actually, we're going to talk about the Tyreek Hill situation. And we will get to that after this. KC Hemp Company, your most trusted CBD provider in Kansas City, shipping nationwide. Ancient plant for a new age health. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram at KC Hemp Co. Wasteland Society, an apparel brand inspired by the underground, the weird, the youth, post-punk, 80s and 90s pop culture, and the idea of living life on the opposite end of the spectrum to the fullest. Hand-printed in Kansas City using an eco-friendly printing process on sweatshop-free garments that are ethically made in the USA. Find them. We are Wasteland Society on Instagram. And we're back at it for segment 3 of the Spoken Podcast. I'm your host, Lance Twidwell, with Eddie Ortiz and Trevor Twidwell.
What's that?
So we've already tackled on the free agent signings that the Chiefs have made. We also have talked about some of the moves that we could see happening in the draft, whether the Chiefs decide to get aggressive and trade up, or dare we say, get a little unorthodox and take a tight end, even though they have one of the greatest tight ends. And let's add one more thing before we get to the next topic of discussion. Another thing that we left out on that is regarding that, although Travis Kelce is the best tight end in football right now, and I don't know if anybody would really debate that, he will be 30 years old this year. And I do think he's got a lot of football left in him because he's been able to.
Mahomes is extending his career.
Yes. And he's only had one major injury, and that was in 2013 with his knee. He missed the entire season.
Yeah.
But since then, I don't know if he's missed a game. Like he's been unless the games obviously they rested for the playoffs. But Travis Kelce stayed healthy. He's been super effective, even with Alex Smith,
Efficient as hell.
and he's been incredible with Patrick Mahomes. At the same time, you can't expect him to stay at the top level going into his 30s. You have to anticipate that you're going to need to either replace him or just add more pieces around him to make his job easier. And I think that's what the Chiefs could do. They could still take a tight end in the middle of the draft. Who knows? But TJ Hawkinson is the guy that you look at and you say that's the kind of guy you want on your team because he will make an ultimate difference and the Chiefs can average 100 points a game.
Yeah, and it makes total sense too with Veach. He's constantly talking about looking ahead and making moves, thinking about the future, and that it would make total sense to prepare for the demise of Travis Kelce. So,
and all of this, like Trevor alluded to in the last segment, all of this is hinging upon a particular situation that I think every single Chiefs fan is fully aware of, unless you've been living in outer space for the last, 7 days or so. And it's the Tyreek Hill situation. There's no mystery about it. And unfortunately, there's really no news as to what is going on. So we can sit here and speculate for another segment. But we're not going to do that. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some of the reports that we have been hearing as far as what his future is going to be in Kansas City, regardless of the outcome of this particular situation. There has been a lot more talk as far as the details surrounding Tyreek Hill's contract, regardless of even before these altercations, these speculations, all these things came out. According to Jay Glazer, and let me go ahead and just say, Jay Glazer has been nails.
Oh yeah.
He called the OBJ trade months ago, and he got like death threats for that. Mm-hmm. And that dude's been owning fools on Twitter ever since.
I love it, dude. I love Jay Glazer so much.
Yeah, it's been great. He's one of the most connected guys in the sports world, working for Fox Sports.
Yep.
And he was asked a question about if there's any updates about the Tyreek Hill situation. I believe it was yesterday.
It was a Q&A.
His quote was, "I don't think the league will jump to do something very quickly. It will take them time because of the severity and sensitivity of the matter. On a separate note, even if none of this happened," this is the key part here, guys.
Yeah.
Even if none of this happened, there were questions in Kansas City about whether they would re-sign Tyreek Hill. I heard some rumblings at the start of free agency that his name was being thrown around in trade talks.
Yep.
But at the same time, thought it had to do with his contract more than anything else. I think this one will take a little while to play out. End quote.
I read some articles too, feeding off of that about before this news broke about him, about the trade talks involving Odell. I heard some rumblings about him being involved in the Odell Beckham trade coming to Kansas City before the Browns took advantage of that situation. And that made a lot of sense to me. Maybe us trading like a first-round pick or our first-round pick or a second-round pick in Tyreek or something like that, But, I mean, taking on that money would – because we were planning on paying Tyreek more than Odell.
Yeah. Or at least right at it.
It would make sense to make a lateral move like that to a guy like Odell, who I think is a better talent. Maybe not as electrifying as Tyreek is, or a game breaker kind of player is.
He's a better wide receiver.
He's a better
Beckham's a better wide receiver.
He's a better natural, because Tyreek had to grow into a wide receiver. Because originally he was like a running back, a return specialist kind of guy. But it's amazing what he's done with his career so far. But yeah, I mean, just hearing about that being a possibility. I mean, obviously it can't be a possibility now, but that being something that was being pondered was quite interesting hearing that. So I don't know, man. I mean, continuing with this, like what would we do if we were going to trade him? Who would we try to get? What would we try to get for him? That's the thing I'm thinking about. What were we trying to do if we were going to trade him?
Well, that's the tough thing about it, because you look at it just from the naked eye and you say, okay, 25 years old, unbelievable talent, maybe the best game-breaking player in the NFL, non-quarterback. I think he has a cap hit of $17.5 thousand this year. No money whatsoever. No money whatsoever that anybody would have to pay.
And don't you think
what does that change?
Don't you think it was his agent that leaked the idea though that he was going to be the highest paid player?
I think yes. I definitely think so. Especially because you got to think about that. It's all about angling. Right. And the Chiefs, if they were thinking about at least entertaining trade thoughts, that his agent would do what's ever best for the player and saying, okay, well, we're going to leak that the Chiefs are planning on signing him to the biggest deal ever.
Yeah, that would only make sense.
But we would have been on board with that. I think all of us would have been on board with it because we felt like he earned it. He's completely outperformed his rookie contract by 1.5 miles.
Yep.
He's only 25 years old, and I've always said that I would lock up him now because you don't want to be signing players like that into their 30s. undersized wide receiver. That's
big-
why it's so funny what the Raiders did with Antonio Brown.
The big thing with me was the chemistry issue with Mahomes.
Right.
I didn't want him to lose that threat, man. And
I mean, you go back to the 4th and 9 play against the Baltimore Ravens, the Rams game. He was so electric in that one. I mean, he's blown by the Patriots in the regular season games. I mean, he's done so much great for this team, and his traded value would be insane. But with this speculation and with all these things involved, whether he did or not, like Jay Glazer said, the Chiefs I do believe that it's a legitimate concern. The Chiefs have trust issues with him.
Yeah.
And I understand why.
for a good reason.
I mean, they took a gamble on him to begin with all the stuff he did back in college. And it's going to be with him for the rest of his life, no matter what he does.
Who is he hanging out with? Who is he surrounding himself with? Why is there even allegations to begin with? It's something that, it is cause for concern. And like I said, like we've said, there's so much up in the air still right now, and it's foggy.
It's crazy how they reported this story about 11, 12, was it?
Yeah.
But 2 weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
and still no fucking word.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't know.
It makes me nervous, man. I don't know if it's a good thing that there's no news or a bad thing there's no news.
Well,
It's
no
like,
news is good news. That's
okay. Let me put it like this. Let me put it like
Sometimes.
this. Therese Paylor, a guy I trust almost more than anybody out there. He lived here for 13 years and reported for the Kansas City Star and was a Chiefs beat writer for a long time. His recent quote on his podcast with Charles Robinson states, quote, even if Tyreek ends up being exonerated, and he gets an extension, there's going to be multiple protections in there. There's just going to be. Just because the situation hasn't been good or for anybody. Now, a little background on this. Look, I've lived in Kansas City for 13 years, as you know. What I can say is this, and this is the key part, guys. Johnson County Police, which is where this happened, Overland Park, very aggressive prosecuting, okay? So I'm just telling you, that police department doesn't really have a reputation. There's no real history of sweetheart deals there. So, like, with respect to this ongoing thing, that's just something I've heard, and I know that to be the case. So, like many people, we're going to wait to see what happens. We're all over that. So this is the point I'm going to go with on that. Therese Paylor basically stated, the OP police are not going to play favorites here. If they have an opportunity to prosecute a player, they're going to do it. It doesn't matter if it's Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Montana. Yeah. They're going to prosecute you according to the law. Yeah. Now, the silence, I do agree with you, Eddie. I think the longer this has been silent, the better it's going to be for the Chiefs, the chances of him being a Chief this next season. Yeah. If you're asking me right now if I'm a betting man, I definitely think he's going to play next season with the Chiefs. Yeah. I think that if he was guilty of what was supposedly unofficially him being attached to, I think it would have already been known, and the Chiefs have already made action accordingly.
And especially with the trust issues that this organization already has with the Kareem Hunt situation just happening last season. This situation alone, whether he's guilty or not, definitely hinders his ability to become a Chief for long term. I think if say he's not found guilty, I still think it could possibly be a situation where he, plays this year out, doesn't get anything extended, and then gets franchise tagged. Hopefully, we win a Super Bowl within one of these 2 seasons, or he's here still here, and then he's maybe getting the boot. That's a possibility, man. Especially if we take another offensive weapon in these next 2 drafts. Say we replace it with another wide receiver. Who knows,
and I can see that. I mean, I can see the Chiefs actually doing that. Just not signing him to a long term deal, like he said. Yeah, and just play him out, franchise tag him, see what comes about.
Well, I had actually asked the question today on our Facebook page, The Spoken, and on our Twitter account at The Spoken PC. On the Spoken PC on Twitter. We got almost 300 votes on that. 63% of people said that they would sign Tyreek Hill right now to a long-term deal.
I said no. I was one of the voters said no.
And on Facebook, 39 voters said they would sign Tyreek. Only 16 said they wouldn't. Now,
I was one of the 16.
I do want to give our guy Noah Kaufman a little shout out, because he did make a really good point on this, and it's something that you guys kind of talked about.
I agree with him.
He said Noah Kaufman said, "I don't trust the situation. Even if he isn't directly involved, someone in his circle is. You are the company you keep. He needs to eliminate the negative influences before I trust guaranteeing him millions." That is one of the best points I think anybody said, because it is true that the people you surround yourself with, even if you're not directly guilty, it does make you guilty by association in some form. Now, do I think it's cuttable? No, I don't. I don't think the Chiefs would just outright cut him because of the company he keeps. Yeah. But I do believe the Chiefs would say, hey, look, we're going to give you a long-term deal, but first of all, it's not going to be this record-breaking deal anymore. Your guaranteed money got cut at least in half. And here's the other part. You have all these protective pieces in your contract now to where if you fuck up one more time, we can get out of it and not pay you any of your guaranteed money or a small portion of it.
Yeah, and the thing is, man, that's touchy about this situation in particular is the people he's surrounding himself with, his toxic relationship with his fiance. Because who knows I don't know what's going to come of this. We still don't know. But say she's the one, that hit the child, or and he didn't report it, or that's why he's not really a suspect, or whatever. Are they going to pressure him to maybe get out of this relationship or kind of choose?
I don't think the Chiefs could. I don't think they could do that. I get what you're saying.
If you can pressure someone to change their scene and change who they're around. What if the scene is his fiance?
But I don't think they're.
That's a tough thing to think about, though.
Yeah, but I don't think the Chiefs are going to be like, hey, if you want to be a
drop
Chief,
this broad. Yeah,
you got to drop your.
I get it. I'm just saying, like that, for
fiancé.
him, that's a tough thing. What does he do in that situation? Because being a guy in a toxic relationship like that could be. I'm not saying that's what is happening. I'm just saying, speculating if that's the situation that comes about after the investigation's over.
If he's smart enough, this year, I doubt he will get an extension, but he has to be smart and he has to prove to the Chiefs that he wants that extension. You know what I mean? Like, he has to eliminate those so-called friends that he has, or if his relationship is toxic, he has to let go. The Chiefs cannot go in there and say, hey, you got to cut that friend. I just don't see the Chiefs doing that. But if Tyreek really wants that extension, he has to be the one that lets go of those toxic friends, relationship, whatever.
Yeah, the Chiefs I don't think the Chiefs not only can't do that as far as like telling him what to do with his personal life, but I don't think they want to. You're a grown man. Yeah, you're a grown man. We don't got time to worry about that. We trust that you're going to go out there and be a man and do what you need to do to represent not only us, but yourself in the best way possible. And I think that's what's so frustrating about all of this. Even if he is exonerated, I'm with Jay Glazer, I'm with Terez Paylor and what they're saying. Even if he's exonerated, we're never going to forget about this. It's never just going to go away. No. Yeah. And it's so frustrating because, damn it, like you saw my reaction first, Eddie, when this news came out. I was so down about this because not just as a Chiefs fan, because obviously this guy is so pivotal to our success, in my opinion. I do believe Patty could lead us to Super Bowls without him, but it makes it that much easier with a guy like Tyreek Hill. But I'm disappointed because of the person, because I have defended this guy so much
for him, man.
Yes. Yeah. And I want to see the redemption story.
Yeah.
I want to see a guy, take his life in control and say, you know what? I've made my mistakes, but damn it, I'm about to make myself a legacy here for my kids. I'm going to restore my legacy. I'm going to take this tarnished look and turn it into something good, like Michael Vick did, like a lot of these guys have done in the past. And I got so disappointed when I'm just seeing his name attached to it. Now, I do believe there was some sensationalism with this. I think the Kansas City Star really screwed up with this, and they've apologized about some of the things they did, or how the mishandlings about the broken arm. Yes, the broken arm that ended up being recanted. That had nothing to do with these police reports, anything like that. And guys, let's talk about it. He's not, to this point at least, been a suspect. The investigation has him involved. Yeah. He's not an actual direct suspect.
He's simply being spoken to by the police.
Yes. So more than likely, like I said, I'm going to put some good money on it that at training camp, we're going to see Tyreek Hill on this team. But the point of emphasis is this. That big contract that was, whether it was from his agent or if it was true or not, whether the Chiefs were really going to do that or not, we don't know that for certain. But if it was true, it's gone.
Well, it's gone. And the other point of emphasis is, say he gets back, say this is all clear. Is the trade talk still going to continue? And say if we do trade him, what are we going to trade him for? I mean, how are we going to replace that speed? How many other guys are there out there that we could trade for in a package to replace that kind
I would
of
just hope somebody in the draft can come up and,
I don't know, man. I don't know if there's a receiver in the draft that could replace.
It's a gamble. It's a gamble
if
overall.
If the Chiefs were serious about trading him, and let's say that was something they were looking at, and I'm the Chiefs, I can't expect a franchise to give me away the farm because of Tyreek Hill now, as it currently sits. Now, if we get an Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport, Terez Paylor type of bomb dropped where it says Tyreek Hill there's no charges, there's nothing there, maybe it's a little bit better. But as it currently stands, if the Chiefs are out there trying to trade, for draft picks or, a player and picks, things like that, I don't, again, with the whole leverage thing with the Texans, with Jadeveon Clowney, things like that, the Chiefs don't have a lot of leverage right now because although there are teams out there that absolutely love Tyreek Hill, I think those types of teams would say, look, if you're desperate to trade him right now, that tells me one thing. You might be releasing him soon.
Oh, yeah, and especially
why the hell would we trade?
Hold off.
Yeah, so why don't we just hold off, and then we can offer Tyreek Hill as much money as possible to sign him, and then we're not out any picks, we're not out any players, and we just added Tyreek Hill to the fold. And I know the teams, the first ones that would be out there, the Patriots, the Browns, teams like that. And those two teams would directly affect the Chiefs' chances of getting to a Super Bowl. You don't think the Chiefs are thinking about that right now? So although I do think I think Jay Glazer's right. I think there is the chance that they were looking at least at one point to trade him because I do think that they have trust issues with him.
I see the Odell Beckham trade. Like if that I can see that.
Yeah, it's almost a lateral move.
Exactly, because you're gonna pay a guy almost the exact same amount, but you're gonna get a better player in return. I can see that. I can see that maybe that being that trade talk per se that they were talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. It's just, I don't know what they would even trade for, though. I mean, the only other guy, like speed wise, that I think could compare to Tyreek in this league to get a guy that can go over the top with that kind of speed is like a John Ross from Cincinnati.
Oh, God. He sucks out loud.
I don't think he sucks.
He sucks out loud.
He's kind of a one-trick pony, but I do think he's a guy that has game-breaking speed. I'm just throwing that name out there as a guy that has comparable speed. But yeah, I mean, not gonna.
Do you need speed or just somebody that can make those plays?
If the Chiefs are going to trade Tyreek Hill, they're not getting a player that compares to him.
No,
they're not going to get a speedster wide receiver. They're going to get top-tier draft picks, so as good of a draft pick as they can, accumulate them as far as like multiple draft picks and maybe a player involved. NFL trades are a lot different than the NBA trades and MLB trades, where you're not looking at players as much as draft picks. So for me, it would go against what the Chiefs are actually trying to do for 2019 if they actually ended up trading Tyreek Hill.
It comes down to what Andy Reid wants for his offense. What kind of scheme he has in his mind moving forward with this Patrick Mahomes. Because obviously Patrick Mahomes is going to make whoever is on that field better.
Yes.
So I think this Sammy Watkins is chomping at the bit right now with this Tyreek Hill news because he's looking at making maybe even more money or continuing this contract with the Chiefs because we were looking at maybe let him go after this year or something, of shipping him off. But
we saw how valuable Sammy Watkins was in the AFC Championship too when Tyreek Hill only had one catch.
Man, every time he was on the field this year, he was producing.
The Chiefs average over 38 points a game when Sammy Watkins over 3 points more per game than what they were averaging.
The only issue I have with Sammy Watkins is the injury. Yeah. The injuries. That is it. Yeah. That's the only issue I have with him. Other than that, he's a great player.
Back to Tyreek and just my full form as far as these scenarios that we can build as far as trade, as far as long-term contracts. Things of that nature. I think there's a much greater chance that the Chiefs would keep him. And like you guys talked about, even Clay Windler, our producer, had hinted on Twitter that, they would franchise tag him, maybe even tag him again, and then let him walk around 27, 28 years old. Now, I get that, but you're talking about a lot of guaranteed money you'd have to give him because you have to give him market value.
Yeah.
So you're looking at probably paying him $15 to $18 million a year on 1-year deals. That's fine, but that's a lot of cap hit for the Chiefs. Are they willing to do that, or would they rather give him a 3-year deal, 4-year deal that has less guaranteed money? Because like I said, guys, the Chiefs have all the leverage in this.
Yeah.
The Chiefs can say, look, we're going to give you a 3-year deal. It's going to be worth $40 million in total, and 18 to 20 of that's guaranteed. He really can't say no to that right now.
And you look back a couple episodes ago when I was talking about the Chiefs having leverage just from drafting him, where we drafted him and giving him a chance to be in this league. Now we have even more leverage. And my tone obviously has changed, not wanting to give him the big contract now from just a couple weeks ago, talking about how I'd want to sign him over Chris Jones right now. That's obviously changed, man. Chris Jones is obviously more deserving of that money now, and I think that's what's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, I think we got to abuse our leverage and our power that we have over Tyreek right now, and it's a business, man. If we have somebody that we can't trust to come to work and not have off-field issues that's going to cause you to be absent or gone from the league entirely and ruin your own life, then we're not going to invest in you.
Yeah, and this is why I'm actually on the other side of this about when I give him a long-term contract. I actually would, because of the fact
this is why you're not good at business, Lance.
As we're in the KC beer,
who are you?
No, so this is why. Hear me out. And maybe I'm seeing this the wrong way. And I'm not trying to make this for argument's sake.
Yeah.
If I'm the Chiefs,
I can see it both ways.
If I'm the Chiefs, I'm sitting Tyreek Hill down because, like I said, I'm going off the speculation that he's not going to be found guilty in this.
Yeah.
So if we find out he's exonerated, he's not going to be cut, he's not going to be in trouble, then this is what I do with Tyreek. I'm like, look, man, this has caused a lot of drama, and you know what kind of franchise we are. We're by the book. We don't stand for this type of stuff at all. We don't appreciate what you've kind of put us through. And we don't appreciate that this has been an ongoing situation even after we took this gamble on you, even as a 5th-round pick. So what we're going to do now is we're going to offer you this contract. It's going to lock you up for the next 3 to 5 years. But your guaranteed money, which was, let's just say it was $60, $70 million. Well, that just got cut in half.
Yeah.
So we're going to offer you, like I said, 3 to 5 year deal that's worth at max deal, $50 million, $60 million. And 25 of that's guaranteed.
Or put the 100% of the pressure on him. Say he's not guilty. Put the 100% of the pressure on him and make him prove it this year.
Right.
Again, why not? He's a young stud. He's in the best position possible offensively.
That's kind of where I'm at. I think that if they want to wait until after the season, they can do that. The problem is that you're talking about free agency. And there'll be a team crazy enough so you could franchise tag him and then try to work on a long-term deal.
I think is going to happen.
You could do that, yes, but like I said, the market value. So you're going to be paying him a lot of guaranteed money anyway next season.
So
do you really want to do that when you're talking about making him prove it? That's the whole thing, because you obviously know, and we've talked. You just said it.
I don't care if it gets us to a Super Bowl and we win it. I don't give a damn.
But you know what I'm saying? Because although we are in an all-in mindset, the Chiefs have to be looking down the road.
Yeah, I think that's what Beach is doing, man.
I'm just saying, guys, I will give Tyreek another chance with this because if he was found guilty and somehow, some way the Chiefs decided, we're still going to keep him, I'm not touching that. But if he is exonerated, I'm basing this all on that. So let's not get this twisted.
Dude.
Let's not get this twisted. If he is exonerated and we come to find out that he really wasn't a suspect in this, he really didn't hurt his son, he really didn't hurt his fiance, then I'm saying, great. We're going to sign you long-term, but because of the drama and because of the fact we do have our trust issues, we're not going to give you the deal that you and your agent really wanted. And again, we don't even know if the Chiefs were going to give him that.
Right. Yeah. And trade talks. I mean, that's, for sure.
Now,
we have no idea what's
his
going
value, his talent, his age, all those things do hint to the Chiefs would have to pay him a lot of money because Odell Beckham and him, although I do think OBJ is the better overall receiver, that is an argument. You could make a legitimate argument that Tyreek Hill is up there with OBJ.
Yeah.
So with the market value of OBJ's contract, you'd have to assume almost that they would have to pay him close to that amount, if not more. Because we were just talking a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
We were all talking about it. Like, he's going to get that contract.
I didn't say that. I said I didn't agree that he was going to get Odell money. And obviously that's proven to be right now. But I think the trade talks are dead right now. I don't think – because you want to trade him at an all-time high value. That's the whole point of trading an elite player. And I don't think, I think the trade talks are dead just because of the fact that he's under investigation. And why trade him now? It makes no sense to trade him now. So I'm pretty sure those trade talks are dead because those are pre-investigation talks. So if he's not guilty, he's going to be a Chief, unless we cut him like a dumbass. But that's not going to happen. He's going to be a Chief. I'm pretty sure if he's not guilty. So
I'm with you on that. And so we're going to leave it at there. I think that's everything we could really say about this topic and conversation. Obviously, we're hoping there's more to it within the next few days, that we hear something, because obviously we're all on pins and needles as far as Chiefs fans are concerned, wanting to know, because like you said, Trevor, everything that this offseason is going to do from here on out, the Chiefs are going to do from this point out, is going to be based on this situation. Adam Schefter had said it on his podcast that he believes that this is the biggest offseason story over Odell Beckham's being traded to the Browns. He believes, Adam Schefter, maybe the most connected man in football sources, is saying that he thinks this is the biggest story.
MVP's biggest weapon,
right? So
that's a big deal.
It's a very pivotal moment in time with the Chiefs and Tyreek Hill. So obviously, we'll be giving you guys our reactions to this as news comes. Hopefully, by this time next week, we have some sort of resolution or an idea of what's going to happen. So in the meantime, guys, we're going to leave it, like I said, right there. When we come back, there's a former Chief that decided to join a team that's owned the Chiefs for a long time. And I think that we might see him again in the playoffs. We'll be back for that after this. Casey Hardgoods is the brainchild of local Kansas City degenerate Scott Reinerson. Born from a passion of old materials and custom designs, specializing in reclaimed wood, burned art and signs, and upcycled leather wallets and accessories. Follow Casey Hardgoods on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Back at it on the Spoken Podcast for segment 4. I am your host, Lance Twidwell, here with Eddie Ortiz, Trevor Twidwell.
What's up, people?
We're here in the Casey Beardco Studios recording, giving you guys what we got, which is, so far it's been a lot. I mean, like I said, we have a lot to discuss. It feels like that every week, and that's a great thing. Otherwise, we'd just be rambling about the same shit, and I don't want to be doing that. So I do want to start the segment off, first of all, kind of on a sobering note. There's been some reports. Everybody is fully aware of what happened to Alex Smith this last season against I believe it was the Texans.
That was unfortunate.
Had a severe leg injury.
Yeah, sucks.
It was really, really rough to watch. And obviously his season ended. He's been on this weird cast ever since. 34, soon to be 35 years old. He's had a long-standing career, the number 1 overall pick in the 2005 draft. Had his time here in Kansas City. He played only, I think, 8 or 9 games in Washington. According to some reports, it does look like his future in the NFL is
diminishing.
Yeah, and he probably won't play again in the NFL. Now, that sucks for him, obviously, because you don't want to see someone's career end that way. But it really sucks for Washington because of the fact that
money.
Yeah, this year I think he has $19 million in total guarantees that they have to pay him.
Yep.
And I think in total it's $33 million that they still have to pay him in guaranteed money.
Yep.
Now they do have like a $12 million some sort of policy that they can recoup some of that money, but regardless, on either end of it, no matter what you want to look at, it just really sucks. Anybody that knows me, that's followed me for any length of time, knows
Alex Smith.
Yeah. Just deeply in love with Alex Smith. I was so broken up when they traded him.
I was
so broken up. Yeah, I was so broken up when they fleeced Washington when that trade. But no, in all seriousness, man, look, these things affect more than the player. They affect the person. They affect his family, and I would never, in my worst moment of my life, wish that on him or any other player, whether I was a fan of his or not. It really sucks that happened. From everything I've heard, the dude's an awesome guy, and my heart goes out to him, and I hope that he can make it back on that field. I hope he can play and go out on his terms, not the fate of just some horrific injury. So my heart goes out to Alex and his family, and I really hope he can get back.
My only question is it because of the infection he got after the surgery?
Yes,
or is
I
it
think
because
the
the injury itself?
The injury itself is the biggest reason. According to the reports, it looks like the injury and his age, it's going to be really, really tough. And he's going to miss this next season.
How many
for sure.
quarterbacks have we seen come back from a major injury like that and still be
not
a productive player?
The first thought that comes to my mind is Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
But see, when Teddy suffered his, I believe he was 24 years old.
Right.
So he was about 10 years younger than Alex
But
Smith.
still,
so
he didn't shatter a bone.
He had some severe ligament damage. But
he separated, like his whole knee came apart from his leg, which is weird.
Yeah.
But still, I don't think it's as severe as actually breaking a bone and piercing through your skin. And it's just Joe Theismann all over again, which is super ironic. But yeah, and obviously look what happened to Joe Theismann after that. I mean, I know he's a little older at the time, but still, or was a similar age, I guess. But
33 years to the day, I think that was the day that Joe
Theismann was out the game. This is a weird, bizarre situation. But it's like a Twilight Zone episode, man.
Yeah.
But
shout out to Alex, man.
Yeah, it's sad, man.
Hope he can actually come back
for sure
to the league, maybe play a couple more seasons.
Yeah, and moving to another former Chief that we're gonna have to talk about. This is what this segment's gonna be primarily about. If anybody did not see the news today that came out, former Chiefs outside linebacker Justin Houston agrees to a 2-year, $24 million deal with the Indianapolis Colts. Now, a lot of people have been big on this one. Chris Ballard, formerly with the Chiefs, now the GM of the Colts, had his attachments to Justin Houston. It makes a lot of sense. They had a lot of cap space to work with. He's the kind of guy that really fits their scheme, which is ironic because the Chiefs said that they're getting rid of Justin Houston, and a lot of us believed that it's because of the fact that he wouldn't fit a 4-3 scheme. And then he goes to a team that plays a 4-3 scheme. So he's going to be a defensive end in that defense as well.
Salary.
Yeah, and I was listening to Colin Cowherd earlier today about this, and Colin was talking big about this. He said he really liked this move, and I kind of thought it was funny just in my own mind because I can't recall a time that he ever talked to, and I'm saying he as in Colin Cowherd, never once heard him talk about Justin Houston in Kansas City, but the moment he goes to Indianapolis, all of a sudden it's a great move.
It's just because it's a headline, it's news.
Yeah, exactly. So I do think, and I'll let you guys get your thoughts on this, but real quick, I do think this was a solid move for the Colts. I definitely think he's a fill gap an effective player still by all means. You saw him in the playoff game against the Colts, ironically, was probably the best player on the field that night. You could make that case. He was such a game changer on that defensive side from the moment the game started to the very end. This guy was in the backfield making Andrew Luck's life a living hell.
Well, even in the game we lost back in the day, 2014 against them, he was playing great before he got injured in that game. He was one of the best players in that game, and then when he got hurt, everything changed. But yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
No, and it just it's kind of like the Eric Berry situation when we talked about looking back on a legacy of a player. Justin Houston was such a dominant force in that 2014 season when he bet on himself.
Oh man.
And had him 22 sacks. I mean, the dude, I think only 4 players in NFL history have ever had 22 sacks in a season. He's one of them. Yep. And he bet on himself. That's one of the most baller moves ever. You know, he didn't take that contract at the time. He said, no, I'm betting on myself, and he ended up giving himself a fat contract. So all respect to Justin. I'm very happy for him. But I want to get your guys' thoughts on this because obviously, there we go. See, Eddie's watching the Mexico game over there too. Well,
no,
he's multitasking, and I think did Mexico just score?
They did.
Very nice, man.
They're
Very
up
nice.
2-0 now.
Congratulations to that. Viva la Mexico. So here we go. I want to get your guys' thoughts on this because it isn't just that Justin Houston was a former Chief. There's much more to this now. He's playing now for a team that is arguably going to fight with the Chiefs for the AFC title. The Colts are a really good team. They got a lot of cap space. Yeah. They're going to probably make some really good moves in the draft because Chris Ballard knows football, and he's a very effective GM.
Oh, yeah.
With this move, how do you think it's going to affect the Chiefs? And do you think, guys, that we could potentially see a rematch between the Colts and the Chiefs in the playoffs?
I can see a definite rematch with the Colts. It would be great to see Justin Houston back in Kansas City, trying to get to Patrick Mahomes. It would just be great. It would be good. I think it would be a great game. I'm so excited for it, man. I wish Justin Houston nothing but success with the Colts. I know it's a AFC rival and everything, but just want to see a former Chief succeed in the league.
I think it's the perfect move for Justin Houston. Perfect destination for him as far as terrain, being able to play in a dome as an aging player. Not having to deal with Kansas City weather. And the bipolar weather that it is. But like I said, him being an aging player with aging knees, and being able to play in a dome, and him being such a great locker room presence for that, younger core really on that Colts defense, and a lot of inexperienced guys in that defense, something for them to build upon and have a voice in that locker room is important. But as far as a rematch goes, I'm all for a rematch, man. As long as it's in Kansas City, making Andrew Luck play outside of his comfortability. His comfort zone playing. I mean, we saw how uncomfortable he was playing in that cold Kansas City weather, how good Patrick Mahomes looked in that. I mean, I'm all for it, man. Bring it. If you want to come to KC, as long as it's in KC, I'm 100% comfortable with that matchup.
I love it.
I'm more comfortable with that matchup than the Browns right now. I'll tell you that. It's because the Browns play in cold weather, just like the Midwest, and it being in the Midwest as well. So they would be more prepared than a dome team would. So yeah, I'm all for it, man. Bring it.
I think that if you're looking at these types of moves, I don't want to sound too arrogant or, I don't want to sound I don't want to sound like a naive Chiefs fan here. I don't want to sound like a lofty Chiefs fan here. But if you're looking at some of these moves, it feels like every team in the AFC that knows they're going to be a contender, or at least has a good inclination they will be, are making moves to prepare for Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, look at the Broncos. They just had their first back-to-back losing season since the 70s.
I'd be questioning if they weren't making moves like that.
Right. And they
like,
go and
it don't make sense.
Now, I don't think the Broncos are making good moves, obviously.
Oh, no.
but let's preface that. Let's preface that.
You want to call them good moves?
Let's
Joe
Flacco's in his pitting his prime.
Yeah, according to 34-year-old Joe Flacco's he's got a second win, boys and girls. He hasn't even hit his first win. Holy hell. No, you look at some of these moves these teams are making, you can tell that they're prepping for Patrick Mahomes. It would not shock me in the slightest if teams like the Broncos and the Patriots all take edge rushers in the first round of this draft. Same with the Colts even.
They're
going to double down.
The Raiders signing Perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You look at it's reactionary.
Yep.
He is literally changing the dynamics of the AFC in particular, even the NFL, but particularly the AFC, because these teams are going to have to face him in order to get to the dance, the Super Bowl. And so for me, when I first heard it, that's what I tweeted it out. I was like, we'll be seeing you soon, because I truly believe the Colts, They might shock some fools. I mean, it's very early.
They shocked people this past season.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten to our predict. I mean, we're months away from that.
Yeah.
But the Colts are a team that I'm taking very seriously because Andrew Luck.
He's an elite quarterback.
Yes. Top 5 quarterback in the league.
Yes.
And he's finally got himself health. That was the main thing. Obviously, you don't have your health, you don't have anything.
I love Andrew
He's
Luck.
finally on the
Big
field.
fan. Yeah.
Unfortunately for them, they ran into the buzzsaw known as the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead,
In our
got
place.
the ass beat.
Absolutely.
Okay. But if they would not have faced the Chiefs in the divisional round, I think we could have potentially faced in the AFC Championship. And I say that as they could have potentially beaten the Patriots.
Great offensive line.
Yes, they match up better with the Patriots than
sure.
matched up with the Chiefs. So I definitely think the Colts see that on the horizon. Like, dude, we have got to start building a team to beat Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
And I think that it's like, what better way to do it than a guy that Chris Ballard's familiar with, a guy that's familiar with Patrick Mahomes and the weaknesses he sees, and not Patrick Mahomes' game necessarily, but in the offensive line and what they try to do. He knows Andy Reid's schemes. He knows their style. That's the kind of guy you want to get. And I think this is a home run hit for the Colts because I think it takes their defense that was horrible at pass rushing this year to the next level. I don't think he's going to be a double-digit sack guy. I don't even think he's going to play 80% of the snaps. I definitely think, though, this is going to be a guy they put on there on the third downs, on those distance plays where they're going to have to get that to the quarterback, on the shotgun plays. He's the guy they're going to put there in the defense. They're going to pick their spots with him, and he's going to be very effective if healthy.
Oh, yeah, and it's funny seeing two different teams like the Colts and the Browns trying to attack the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes in two different ways, with the Browns stacking up offensively and the Colts. Supposedly the Colts are still – it's been reported that the Colts are still trying to make big moves defensively too outside of Justin Houston. So seeing them stack, the Colts defense wasn't bad last year. So them adding up, going the defensive route, trying to maybe slow down the Chiefs offense, and then the Browns trying to maybe go for the route to maybe outshoot us, which good luck. But we dropped 37 on them in that defense, and they actually lost a major player, Jamie Collins. I know they got Richardson, but whatever. But yeah, just seeing two different teams going at it from two different ways is interesting. And it's just fun being the team. It almost, I know we're not the Patriots, but it almost feels like that in a sense, like teams building and trying to find ways to outmatch us. And we're that team. That's just interesting, man. It's a blast.
Well, look at it from the Tyrann Mathieu perspective. I'm going to bring him into this conversation for a second.
Let's do that.
What you just said was what I'm really glad you brought that up, because although it's wrong for us to say or almost disrespect the Patriots and saying like we're the team to beat, we're the class of the AFC. Why did Tyrann Mathieu come to Kansas City and not New England?
He didn't want to freaking play us
because he wants to play with, not against Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. Well, he said too. He said him and his boys in the locker room would be talking about how they don't want to play us.
Right.
How many other locker rooms are probably saying that stuff?
Absolutely.
When you got an elite safety saying that.
I guarantee you the Colts are a part of that.
Absolutely.
I guarantee you the Colts
they don't
weren't
want to come to Arrowhead again.
I guarantee they weren't backflipping knowing they were going to come to Kansas City and have to play Patty in his house.
Yeah.
So that's why I said this move, I think, really puts the Colts in a really good position. Again, Justin Houston is no longer the elite pass rusher he once was, but he's still very effective. And what's weird is before that signing happened, I was going to propose a little weird thought that maybe the Chiefs would consider bringing him back.
I thought about that
on a cheaper deal because they cut him. The guaranteed money's gone, things like that. They could bring him back on a short-term deal.
Dare to dream.
Yeah, that was something I was going to talk about. But then I saw the Colts do it, and I said, man, that makes so much sense that they would get him. I was expecting him to go to like an Eagles team, the NFC side of the, somebody who was going to overpay for him.
It could happen with Eric Berry.
Yeah, the supporters, supposedly the Cowboys, I think, are the team.
He visited and he left without a contract. It could happen with Eric Berry, dude. It could. If he waited out and everyone's kind of sketched out about his injury,
I'm not ready to revisit that. I'll be honest,
Shut
man.
your lips.
I don't want to go down this road again. It was already dark as it was, but I made my peace with Eric Berry, his departure.
Well, his spirit.
No one cares about your feelings, Lance.
His spirit
no one cares about your feelings.
not attached to him.
He left his spirit
Soul
in
has
KC,
left the body.
Hopefully.
By the way, did Mexico score another goal?
Yeah, they're up 3-1 now.
All right, congratulations, brother. And that's kind of where I'm at with this whole Houston thing. I mean, I was not. I guess I was shocked, but at the same time, it was shocking to see how much money they gave him. Let me just put it like that. Now, I don't know if he's ever going to see all of it, but I do like. If I'm a Colts fan, I like that move a lot.
He had a solid year, man. He was healthy all year. I mean, for the most part.
For the most part, yeah.
I mean, he's still a solid player. Like you said,
he graded out as one of the top at his position. So I mean,
it's a great move on the Colts.
Yeah. It definitely elevates them to the next level, I think, because like I said, they had a hard time getting to quarterbacks last year. And I do fully expect the Colts to go and get
a good team,
a premier pass rusher in the draft, or at least try to, and add him next to Justin Houston over the next year or two. So that's really all I had to say about that. We wanted to definitely touch on that. We have one more segment coming up. We're going to touch a little bit on the March Madness situation. Tom Izzo and his freshman forward. We're going to talk a minute about that. K-State, obviously, and KU. We're going to talk about where they currently stand. Sorry, no Mizzou fans out there. We missed their game for some weird reason. I don't know what happened. I guess NIT didn't want to invite them. Anyway, so we're going to get back to that. And, of course, we're going to finish off the show with our favorite segment of every week, and that is Hold This L. We'll get to that after this.
Mid-Coast Modern is a Kansas City focus on modern, handmade, and small brands. A resource for design-centric home goods, apparel, jewelry, artwork, and limited edition gifts. We support makers, artists from the Mid-Coast, and bring in goods from makers, artists around the U.S. to offer a unique selection.
Back at it on the Spoken Podcast for the fifth and final segment of the night. I am your host, Lance Twidwell, here with Eddie Ortiz, Trevor Twidwell.
What's up?
In the Casey Beard Co. studios. No guests tonight. It's kind of a different feel, which is kind of cool for us because we kind of just chill and talk back and forth. It's been a good night. A lot of fun talks about Chiefs-related topics, primarily Chiefs-related topics. And so going into that real quick, I want to give a shout-out to our quarterback, Patty Mahomes, for landing the Oakley endorsement.
Oh, yeah, man.
Those are the best-looking ugly glasses I've ever seen in my life. Holy shit. Looked like the Terminator needed to steal those off him. I'll be back for my glasses.
Roads?
Yeah, I know, right?
Right. Where we're going, we don't need
Great
roads.
Scott. I was just waiting for Doc to come out.
Marty.
Doc. You know what I mean? Just
That's immediately what came to my mind was Back to the Future.
Doc.
I just wanted to dub a welder, like a welding machine with like the sparks flying past his face with this thing's on.
I guess I think we need to bring it back.
I'm just saying, congratulations to Patrick, because this is like one of the 69 endorsements he's going to be getting. So congrats to that. I'm sure Hunt's is taking care of all these other things. But yeah, I thought that was awesome, man.
I still want him to bring Whataburger to town.
Hell yeah, man. Bring it on.
That's one endorsement I'm really hoping happens.
Yes.
I missed the sauce.
Give me that patty melt.
Yes, there it is. Hey, we need to get royalties for that.
Yes, sir.
You heard it first in the Spoken Podcast. All right. Fair enough. So we're going to get into the March Madness side of things, because obviously that is the biggest thing that's going on in the world of sports in America.
It's mad.
Is it?
It is. This is March, as the John Rothstein likes to say. This is March. There's been a lot of cool things that happened. 610 was saying earlier that they didn't think that this has been a good couple of days so far, but I think there's been some pretty cool stories.
It's been great.
At least stories to talk about. Maybe not great stories, but things that
very many competitive games, really. But
true,
yeah,
for the most part. You're right.
Yeah.
There's been some upsets, which that is not surprising in March Madness. But a couple topics before we get to the local things. A very well-known head coach, one of the best head coaches of all time in college basketball, Michigan State's Tom Izzo, has been a little bit under fire. Yesterday, he went off on his freshman forward, Aaron Henry, after having a lapse of judgment on the defensive side in the early second half. But they ended up beating Bradley 76-65. So hindsight, winning in double digits is still a good thing. But there's been a lot of, like I said, all the talk shows have been talking about it. The radio shows have been talking about it, about, when is it too far? When do coaches cross the line? And I watched the video numerous times. I saw Tom Izzo. He literally ran to half court when he called the timeout.
Yeah.
Ran after his freshman forward, started waving his finger in his face, made these crazy faces like Deadspin, posted that photo of Tom Izzo looking like a rabid dog.
I swear to God, I thought he was going to one-man punch or the one-inch punch him. I swear.
Tommy was definitely upset, and I understand it. And, these conversations are always tough for me, because if you listen to most of the players, whether they're former or current, almost all of them will always say, that's just coaching.
Yeah.
Then on the other side of it, I've heard some other people make arguments on the other side that there's better ways of going about it. And I get that.
Yeah.
But here's my thing about it. Tom Izzo is who he is for a reason.
He's always been that guy.
There's coaches that have their styles.
Yeah.
You don't see, Brad Stevens acting that way. Phil Jackson didn't act that way. Coach K does sometimes, but not often. You really have to get under his skin.
You got to
make
see like behind the scenes footage
yes.
to see his like real stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you have your emotional coaches like Tom Izzo, Bill Self, Coach Calipari, guys like that will get in your face and blow up.
Oh, for sure.
Even Greg Popovich is known to do that.
Yeah.
So every guy has their style. And for me, it's hard for me as a viewer to have this opinion I could tell him how to do his coaching, how to go about teaching his kids, because although I did see a player like push him back a little bit, I think these teams, because they're so close and they spend so much time together, that it is a family. I know that sounds cliche to say, but I think that it isn't as bad as it looks, if that makes sense.
No, yeah.
To us, it looks really bad because, like, damn, but we don't understand the relationships between these people.
You don't see. Imagine what goes on in the locker room.
Exactly.
I mean, anybody that's played like AAU, and grew up in the sport, you've had your ass straight chewed by coaches. That's something that these kids are scarred and calloused and used to. Especially, and I mean, for me personally, I would want that kind of coach because I know he's going to battle to pull the best out of me. And I heard Chris Broussard saying that on his show a couple hours ago, and I 100% agree. He charged the kid a little bit, which the only thing is I was uncomfortable with is the way he kind of like his body language, kind of how he came at the kid and almost looked like he was going to punch him. He came at him with like a closed fist, but he was just kind of like shaking his fist up and down. Obviously he's not going to touch the kid, but he's kind of always been that guy. He's a fiery in your face guy. Like I said, you can only imagine what goes on in the locker room. And those kids, when they were scouted and he sat in their family's living room talking about, hey, I'm this coach. Those kids chose to come play with him.
Right.
All those kids were scouted by other schools. They chose to come play with him. So those kids knew what they're getting into for the most part. I mean, yeah, I don't think he crossed any like personal lines, but that's just who he is, man. And then, like I said, I think even that kid came on Twitter and was defending him, saying, this is my coach. This is, and he's going to battle for me, and I want, and I think kids respect coaches that do that when they're used to that. So that's just my perspective.
And I don't know, Eddie, I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, but as in the soccer world, we don't follow it like you do, but you would say that there are coaches that have their own styles, and there are some, I'm sure, that jump the player's ass a lot more than another coach.
Dramatic.
Give me an example of that. Like, what coach can you think of that does that? And do you get the same type of feedback or backlash that a Tom Izzo would get in the soccer world?
No, I would put Mourinho up there. Mourinho is one of the greats. Obviously, he doesn't have a job now, but he is known to be one of those coaches to where if you don't listen to what he does, he will either take you out in the first half or just not play you within the next couple weeks, 3 weeks, and you're basically one of the best players he has. And he's not taking shit from you. Yeah. He doesn't give a fuck. Yeah. So he's one of the coaches that comes to my mind as to one of the strictest, and if you don't listen, you're pretty much screwed.
Think about all the coaches that have the mentality, and most of them are super successful coaches. Yeah. Greg Popovich, same kind of guy. Yeah. Look at the Kawhi situation. He didn't take Kawhi shit for nothing, dude. He's straight. He's like, you know what? You want to be that guy? You want to backstab me? You want to hold out? See ya. I don't care how talented you are. Guys like that have always, most coaches that have that fiery mentality have always had success and got the best out of their players. And I loved what Coach Izzo said post game. He said that there's no time right now. There's no time for my bads. You don't come up to me saying my bad. Get your ass out there and fix the problem. Do what I'm telling you to do the first time I ask you to do it. This is win or go home. And that's the mentality you have to have in a tournament, man.
Right. Some coaches are just passionate about the sport. You know what I mean? And I respect that.
The double standard also is the fact, and there is one, is if he wasn't a successful coach, he was to do that, I think that there'd be a lot more people that would rally around it. But having said that, it comes full circle. Yeah. Tom Izzo was effective in his ways. Now, I do think that could he have maybe conducted himself in a more proper manner? Sure.
Yeah,
but I'm not worried about that. If I'm a fan of Michigan State, or I'm a Jayhawks fan, I'll come out and say it right now. I'm a big Jayhawks fan.
No doubt.
And I've seen throughout the years Bill Self, jump players' asses to a point where I'm like, damn, he's really giving it to this guy. LeGerald Vick, for Christ's sake, isn't even on the team because they couldn't.
Yeah, as a fan, you love it.
Yeah, as a fan, I want to see him get the most out. And like Trevor said, A lot of guys want that. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of guys want a coach that's going to get in their face and wake them up.
Even if you
They
don't like
respect
it in the
that.
moment, you get pissed off, and a lot of guys
Makes you focus.
It activates like another level of your intensity when you're out there playing. Because I remember I was the same kind of guy when I know I was never like some super athlete, but when I did play sports and the coach was getting my ass, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go prove it to you. All right, you're getting on me. Okay, I'm gonna go show you I can do it.
Right.
And it
I'm gonna
motivated
shut
me
you-
even
yeah.
more.
Yeah.
And
Not every guy is like that, but that's definitely. I think most athletes with that kind of competitive nature, that will activate that next level.
They like that challenge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They,
Well-
it's like, oh, you doubting me right now? It's like, watch this.
Well, unfortunately, that activation didn't happen for one Kansas State today, as
Who's that?
UC Irvine goes on to defeat the Wildcats. The Anteaters defeating the Wildcats 70-64. I got a chance to watch a majority of this game, and I got to be honest with you. Even though Dean Wade, the Wildcats' best player, was out due to his foot injury, I thought that the Wildcats would have enough to get it done against a team like UC Irvine. Granted, you know, they're not a great team. I think they are only, a 13 seed. Having said that, the rebounding was obviously in their advantage. They're a bigger, longer team, and you saw that. The biggest problem, though, with this game that I had seen was the carelessness from the Wildcats. The fact that they were throwing the ball away late, the fact that And I have to criticize Bruce Weber a little bit because although their best player out there being Barry Brown Jr., he struggled pretty much all season. He's been a complete disappointment, but not playing him for it seemed like almost a full half.
Just because he had 2 early fouls.
Yeah, I get that,
It's
but
a bad coaching
this is
move.
make or break, and there's no player on this team better than him.
It's a risk you have to take, man. Leave
Yeah,
that.
and with Snead and him have their struggles, it just to me was such a. I'm not a Wildcat fan, but I picked this team to win this game because I felt very comfortable that Bruce Weber was going to have his guys prepared. They were going to go out there and have an effective game plan, and they did not do that. They looked flat early and often. Were not effective from three land. I mean, they came out there and stunk it up. And I'm just going to say it out loud, guys. I think that maybe K-State has peaked a little bit because there's going to be a big change on this team. Can Bruce Weber repatch it? I don't know. But this loss was rather embarrassing, and I felt like that was a very frustrating loss to end your season, being at the first round, and you had high expectations being a share of the Big 12 title after 14 straight years of the Jayhawks running the Big 12. You had your opportunity to really, establish
We'll get
yourself.
to some of more of that later.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think there's negative to it and there's positive to it. As a fan of the Wildcats, it's just nice being a part of this now. I know they've had their run the last few years with this roster and they've had some good young talent, but I know they're going to have to make moves now because all those guys are going to go into the draft and possibly the league. But Bruce Weber is doing his thing. He's as criticized as he is changing the culture of K-State. He's actually making them an actual team to even talk about now, which they had never been for a very long time. They've kind of replaced Missouri in this border rivalry or whatever. But yeah, I'll give them the credit. It's hard as a fan to deal with this loss in the first round, but I think the culture is changing and it's good. It's good for us as KU fans and as the KU program to have more push and something else to push us to be better. So it sucks for them, but it is what it is.
Shout out to our guy Kyle, owner of Casey Hemp Company. He's going through it really hard right now because he is a K-State alum.
Suck it.
So Kyle, we love you, man, but borderline hold this L on this one, I guess, because that just sucked. I'm sorry, man. I really thought they were going to win today, and kind of hurt my bracket.
It hurt a lot of people's brackets, I'm sure. Man.
Well, let's get to the winners, the rightful heirs to the Kansas throne, the Jayhawks. A couple nights ago, or last night rather, went on to work the ass of one Northeastern. They ended up winning 87-53. At one point, KU had more points in the paint than Northeastern had points, period. The Lawson brothers absolutely went off. They had themselves a game. You're talking about 13 points from baby Lawson, and Deidre Lawson goes for 25 and 11. They went off, and this wasn't a shocking win, even though Eddie picked Northeastern to win.
Loser.
Hey, they were close at one point.
Yeah,
when the ball tipped off, they were both
was a tie ball
0-0,
game.
man.
during
Like,
warm-ups. Yeah, during
At one
warm-ups.
moment, it was tied. Yes.
It's a close game.
It's a close
you know?
game. Yeah, absolutely. But the Jayhawks just, I think they, for the first time in at least 14 years, the Jayhawks have a real chip on their shoulder. They don't have expectations, which is different for them. They didn't win the Big 12. No one is expecting them to make any big run in the tournament. They have a very tough bracket. This was perfect for Bill Self to make this happen with this team. I'm going to give, obviously, the Lawson brothers a lot of credit because they led the way. They led the charge.
Yeah.
But with all the animosity and the crap that the Jayhawks have dealt with the sanctions, with the injuries to Azubuike, with D'Souza never being able to play,
Yeah,
with
a lot
that
of drama.
bullshit that went down with the NCAA, which they're just a complete trash organization. Despite all that, the Jayhawks went out there and made noise. They went out there and had an effective game plan. They stuck by it. And I know Auburn's going to play a better game than they did against New Mexico State. I'm fully expecting Bruce Pearl to have his team prepared.
Yeah.
But I think the Jayhawks are going to win that game. I know you said before the show today that you think Auburn's going to win that game.
Yeah.
But I feel very confident that the Jayhawks are going to win this game because I think they found themselves a chip and they are leaving that on their shoulder and they're going to continue to leave it on their shoulder and go as far as they possibly can.
Yeah, chip can only get you so far, though, man. I know we'll be highly motivated going off of that, which was a very good matchup for us. And, leading into this tournament, we were highly motivated with a bunch of guys wanting to prove themselves. I just don't think this roster has what it takes. If they beat Auburn, cool. I don't think they are. I think Auburn's too good of a shooting team, and we've struggled against teams that say Auburn gets going hot from the perimeter. Man, we're screwed. We struggle against teams that get hot from the field, and once they get hot, we kind of like lose our identity. And if we can't get anything going inside in the paint, if they start shutting the Lawson brothers down, and there's not much we can do, man. Like you said, I do have KU losing. That's why I'm not going to start talking major crap on K-State. But I just think this is one of the worst KU teams we've seen in maybe ever in my lifetime as far as talent goes. So I'm just not expecting. I'm not getting my hopes up. I'm a diehard Jayhawks fan, but this is kind of one of those things. I'm gonna be stoked as hell if they win. But I'm not counting it. I'm not counting on it at all. So.
I just don't doubt Bill Self.
Oh, no.
I know that sounds cliche,
That's the X factor,
but I fully expect him to have his team ready. And if they lose, hopefully they lose a game where they go out there and they play their asses off and they just got outmatched. Auburn just played a better game.
Yeah, the players are the product, and if our product isn't, I don't think our product is good enough to go out there and make a run here. So.
Sure. Well, that's kind of where we're at right now. I mean, by the time you guys watch this or listen to this show, KU could potentially be playing. I think they play at 8:30, 8:40 tomorrow night.
Hope they win, man.
So we'll see what happens. I don't know who's the favorite in that game. I'd imagine it'd be the Jayhawks, but
let's go Auburn.
Hey, you know what? Please do that. That'd be great because Northeastern, I heard that they're doing really well back on their flight back home. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Speaking of Eddie Ortiz, we got some cracks to fill right now. So we're gonna give the mic. We're gonna hand it all over to Eddie Ortiz. Eddie, what are we missing right now in the world of sports that we need to know about? Go ahead and take it, man.
All right. Let's kick it off with some news I was reading on, about 2 days ago. Bayern Munich, this is German champions from last year. They are reported, or they have reported, that they will play in Kansas City this summer.
Yeah,
nice.
You're talking, man, top tier team. It's one of the best in Europe.
Would you say that's huge news?
It is huge.
Yes, very huge.
Is that huge with the Y?
Is it bigger than a wall?
I would hope so. I don't know where this is going, but yes.
Is it huge? That's all I want to know.
It's pretty huge.
Okay, cool.
So the reason this is happening, and as to what I was reading, is I'm bringing it back. Because of Chiefs owner Clark Hunt. Now, Clark Hunt and the Hunt family, they own the Major League Soccer team FC Dallas. Now, FC Dallas has a partnership with Bayern Munich. With that being said, Clark Hunt contacted Bayern Munich and said, "Hey, let's make this happen." Bayern Munich knows everything about Patrick Mahomes, and they're thrilled. So, I mean, this is a German newspaper that's reporting this, and as to what we know, or as to what I know, is that they will confirm this in about 2 to 3 days when the actual schedule comes out of this international championship, whatever they call it, during preseason. It's preseason, but I mean, it's a big team coming to Kansas City. It hasn't happened since when Manchester United came here and played Kansas City Wizards. It wasn't even Sporting Kansas City. It was Kansas City Wizards. So
I remember the Wizards, man.
It's 2011, 2012, I think. Yeah, so it's been a while, and Kansas City's due a pretty big European team visit.
Sure.
All right, so now moving on. This weekend it is the soccer international break. What that means is it's all international or countries play each other this weekend. So we have a couple games like USA played yesterday. They played against Ecuador, and they won 1-0. I mean, some people would say it was a lucky goal. Some people say it was a good goal. But, overall, they got the win. So their new head coach is 3 games in, 3 wins. So they're moving in the right direction. They're building this team for this World Cup. They're so young still. So hopefully they can make this work. And then we had Argentina playing Venezuela out in Madrid, Spain. Why were they playing there? Who fucking knows? But they were out there. This is Messi's first game back since the World Cup. And Argentina in the World Cup in 2008 wasn't what everybody was expecting. They were expecting him to at least either make the finals, contend for the championship, and obviously that didn't happen. So with his first game back, he got handed a 3-1 loss. So, Messi, welcome back to Argentina. Hope you enjoy that. And then, obviously, I don't know if you heard Lance talking about how we're celebrating a couple goals. We had Mexico against...
Mexico!
we had Mexico playing Chile just now. So, by the time you hear this, obviously, the game's over. Mexico won with the score of 3-1. Yeah. So this is Gerardo Martino's or Tata Martino's first game as Mexico's head coach after making Atlanta United the MLS champion for the first time. So that's a pretty big step in his managerial career, whatever you want to say.
Well said. Managerial, I like it.
So he started off with the right foot, and that's kind of the history with new coaches and new head coaches for Mexico. They always start off with the right foot. Hopefully he can continue that success. It's a whole new process, kind of like the United States. It's a young core. So he's bringing all these young players.
It's exciting, man.
Yeah, to get them ready for the World Cup in 2022. So hopefully it's all good news for Mexico and the USA. As a fan of both, I really want them both to succeed on everything they want.
Sure.
So that is it for soccer news. It's pretty boring this week. Like I said, it's international
break. What are you talking about, dude? Mexico just whooped some ass.
Yeah, but
we were drinking Coronas and celebrations, dude. This is amazing. This is awesome.
So, I mean, that's it for soccer. I mean, international breaks are kind of, just like, what kind of games do you really want to watch? Because then you got really like some weird countries going against good countries, and it's just a mixed match of everything. And then you get like 10-0 games and blah blah blah, and
then you get lost in it all. Yeah.
So moving on to my last topic. Obviously, I don't know if people or listeners are boxing fans. Last week we had Mikey Garcia versus Errol Spence Jr. Excuse me. Now, Mikey Garcia and Errol Spence, I think, were both coming in undefeated to this fight. And this was held in AT&T Stadium, Cowboy Stadium. Obviously, a huge crowd, a huge following for Mikey Garcia. Everybody had Mikey Garcia winning this fight. And the unexpected happened. He got destroyed.
I saw the 2-piece, man. He got beat up.
So, he didn't get knocked out, which, I mean, I guess it's good. But, I mean, check this numbers out. Garcia only landed 75 punches in the entire boxing fight.
Jesus Christ.
Out of 406.
Holy shit.
So that's a 18.5%. 18.5% punches landed. That's
so he lost, right?
He's like he was fighting a ghost, man.
Yeah. Now here's Spence Jr.'s total punches. So Spence Jr. threw for 1,082 punches, right? He landed 345 of them. That's double, almost triple as to what Garcia landed.
He landed almost 40% of his punches. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, so he landed almost 32% of his punches. So I mean, that's pretty much you can't say Mikey Garcia won that fight. There's no way.
Yeah.
He lost every round. Judges scored the fight 120-108, 120-107, 120-108.
Damn. Even the cards are totally in favor of
Mikey Garcia, not Mikey Garcia, but Spence Jr. won every single round.
Yeah.
It was no doubt on that. This is the first time a boxer has landed 345 punches. These are the most allowed by Mikey Garcia in his last 21 fights, surpassing the previous high of 162. So he almost doubled that. You know?
Oh, he did. I mean, he had over 300. Was it 100? You said 100 was what's the most?
162. So yeah, he doubled that.
Yeah, right at it.
Yeah. So I mean, Mikey Garcia obviously is a great fighter, but to allow somebody to hit you 345 times and you only hitting them 75, that's
it's like a father beating up his son or something.
Jesus,
yeah. So that was big news this weekend. I was a little impressed as to the result because I honestly did not see that coming. Some people say they did, but some people are always like, "Oh, I always see everything coming." But
yeah.
So that's what I got for filling the cracks. Nothing major, but something to talk about. I guess.
All right, let's give Eddie a hand on that one. That was some good stuff, man. I mean, we don't get to talk about boxing very often. I always wish we lived in the golden era. I mean, my dad and people before him, their generation got to really enjoy the great boxers.
Tyson,
and we get.
I remember some.
We get to watch Floyd Mayweather dance for 12 rounds with a bunch of nobodies making 120 million. So, that's really awesome, man. I'm glad you brought all that up. And as the time goes on, I'm sure there's gonna be tons more soccer related news that you're gonna break down for us. So I appreciate that as Eddie fills in the cracks. But here we go, the final segment of the night. And we all know what it is. Guys, tell them what it is.
Hold this L.
It's time to hold this L.
I want you to do me a favor and hold this L.
Somebody's got to hold that L.
The who? The her.
I'm talking like caps lock L LL Cool J style.
Hold that L.
Good God, man. Hold this gigantic, veiny, pulsating L.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
You ignorant bastard.
That was great.
Hold this L. Hold this L. Brought to you by KC Beard Co., premier beard care supplier based in Kansas City since 2014. KC Beard Co., 100% organic ingredients, 100% organic manliness. So this week, I think we've had to dive into this a little bit because it was a little bit of a tougher week to find some. I mean, there's plenty there every week. There's plenty out there to hand an L to. But I'm gonna start with my guy Eddie. I think you got a pretty good one, man. Who's holding the L this week?
All right, let's go with Stephen A. Good old Stephen A. You can't never go wrong with Stephen A. I guess.
He's always giving us good material.
Stay off the weed.
So this week, he obviously we all know about the Mike Trout contract. So in his podcast, I believe it's his podcast, he was saying how Mike Trout's contract affected Mike Scioscia, the Angels last year coach, in entering his, I guess,
19.
so-called 19 season in charge of the Angels, which obviously he's no longer part of. Jeff Passan had to correct Stephen A. on live in his podcast. So for me this week, for doing that, Stephen A., you gotta
hold this L. I'm glad you used him because of the fact that Stephen A's been taking a lot of L's lately, and I'm glad we finally brought him up on our show. I think this is the first time we've actually brought him up on the show.
We actually have, yeah.
And for me, I just think he's a casual fan that just gets paid millions to talk sports. I don't think he follows it as tightly as he may try to pretend. I do agree with Trevor during the break. He did say that he thinks that, Stephen A, when it comes to NBA, knows his stuff. When it comes to baseball, and football,
he's so nose deep in basketball, so it's hard for him to focus on.
I think the biggest L he took was the Hunter Henry, Derek Johnson. When the Chiefs and Chargers were about to play on Thursday Night Football. When you think about Hunter Henry and you talk about Derek Johnson,
especially being a Chiefs fan,
and Teddy Bruschi sitting there, Max Kellerman sitting like, what in the literal fuck are you talking about? Neither one of those guys is playing. First of all, DJ wasn't on the Chiefs, and Hunter Henry got hurt before the season started. And he's like, I was talking about Virgil Green. No, you weren't, dude. You were talking about
also a guy who played like 5 total snaps. Good correction there, yeah.
Trev, I know you have a good one, so go ahead and lay it on us, man.
Just with me being a diehard Jayhawks fan and being on social media and bragging about my Jayhawks, it's been a down year, obviously. And with that comes a lot of trash talk and vile remarks from these K-State fans. This isn't really directed towards K-State as a whole. I think they're making progress as a team and as an organization and as a school as far as their basketball program goes. But this L is going to have to be held by the K-State fans. Thinking they added inches to their dick because they stopped the KU streak. Congratulations. You won the Big 12, or you won a share of it, I'll say. And you ended our streak, that was bound to come to a halt at some time in history. After we've owned you, your entire mother and grandmother's lifetimes. This L is going to have to be held by all that trash talk leading up to a first round bounce. It was a pleasure while it lasted. I'm happy for you. We're still in the tournament. I don't know. The team that you doubted, the team that you were talking all this trash on. So, to my fellow Kansans, you're going to have to hold this L.
Emaw.
Also listed.
TBH.
TM.
TM. Nice. We were talking about all these AFC teams and they're building towards competing against Patrick Mahomes for the future. You notice there was one team that I didn't bring up, and it's a team that seems to always find themselves in contention, except this last year in the AFC. And it's because they lost their star running back for the entire season because he decided to hold out because he wanted to make better money. Then they had their incredible wide receiver who put up humongous numbers, but it didn't amount to much because we all know that a good wide receiver needs a great quarterback more than a great quarterback needs a good wide receiver. And if we knew anything about this quarterback, he struggled a lot of times despite having big numbers this season, calling out his own teammates, causing a lot of problems in the locker room. A lot of guys calling him a cancer, even though his team decided to say, hey, he's the only adult in the room. I'm talking about the Steelers. See, they lost not one, but 2 prolific stars in this offseason. Now, you can say, well, they could still add pieces to make them better. But we don't know that for certain because we don't even know what the future holds for this team. And quite frankly, if it wasn't for the Steelers and their pride and stability and having their same coach all these years, they've had 3 coaches in their entire franchise. That is insanity.
It's amazing, man.
For them to be around as long as they have to have the success
Great
they've had,
too.
You got to tip their cap. But if this was any other team, Mike Tomlin would have been fired immediately because of the problems they have had. And I could start and I can go off for 20 minutes about
He's lost his locker room, man.
But you have a team that lost 2 prolific stars still in their primes.
Hall of Fame talent. Simply
because they did not want to play with you. Imagine being arguably the most historically stacked franchise in football history. You can go through the list of all the great players, all the great dynasties they've had. And these 2 guys said, you know what? I don't even want to be around you. And that goes, and I look at the numbers. Without Le'Veon Bell, they were 19-14. That's still a winning record. But if you actually look at it when he started games with the Steelers, they were 44-20. They played 5 playoff games with them. They missed the playoffs last season. They had a tie. You know how terrible that would be to say, we were 9-6-1. It's a mouthful. Now, they had a great record without Antonio Brown throughout his career. They were 31-11.
Juju.
But they were 67-37-1 with AB starting. They were 3-3 with or without him in the playoffs. But the last time they won a playoff game without Antonio Brown was 2013.
Yep.
So although the Steelers are historically great, as currently constructed, and we all know we live in a what have you done for me lately society, and it's a what have you done for me lately world that the NFL is, Pittsburgh Steelers, you're going to have to go ahead and hold this out. That's who.
Oh, Diz.
That's it. That's my team. I was thinking about that all week long.
Yeah.
Because I don't think enough people are giving attention because they are a mess.
Well, and the funny thing is too, a lot of these commentators and TV personalities are all like saying that they're still giving them the benefit of the doubt to win the division. I've seen a lot like Colin Cowherd was talking about how they're going to win I think he has them winning division. I think I saw a couple other people talking about how they still have the upper hand on Baltimore, and I was just like, I possibly
they could,
but I think the Browns are going to be the ones
causing
the most
Browns
trouble
to lose.
I know we got to see it first.
The focus has to be on the Steelers. That they are just a complete mess.
I mean, I'm a believer in Juju. I think he's
sure
absolute stud.
But I'm saying, how many teams do you know that go on to succeed after losing 2 players that great?
Yeah,
missing
it's
the playoffs the year before.
Issue.
Your quarterback's going to be 37 next season. The dude looks like he just got out of working at a fast food joint.
Who's behind him?
That's,
you know,
yes, that's
who's the future of that franchise. I mean, I know you got James Conner and Juju, which I love both of those guys.
Right.
Yeah.
They're a complete mess. And as it currently stands, I don't buy into them. I mean, they could be a good team, but there's just been so much source. And you have to think eventually it's going to catch up.
Yeah. And that defense has not been good. So.
Eventually, Ben Roethlisberger is going to hit that wall. Eventually, Mike Tomlin's going to show he just doesn't have it in him anymore. I think he's been coaching there, 13 seasons. He's the second most tenured coach now.
Yeah.
I don't expect this team to be great for very much longer if they're even great at all anymore. Because like I said, they missed the playoffs completely last year. They missed Le'Veon Bell, even though James Conner's good and Juju's an incredible player. Losing Antonio Brown and his 15 touchdowns he brought last season, having the best 6-year stretch we've ever seen a wide receiver have. Losing that, it's going to show. And so that's why they're holding my L this week, and I say that proudly.
For sure.
I want to thank all the listeners. These last 5 weeks have been absolutely incredible. This is our 6th episode. It's flown by. I mean, I cannot believe we're already 6 episodes in, but it's been an absolute blast. I want to thank my co-host Eddie Ortiz for filling in the cracks, giving us those the stories we did not know regarding the soccer world, the boxing world. Thanks for adding that element tonight.
Yep.
For my brother Trevor being here tonight, always dropping the knowledge, adding that element that we need, that third party, man. It's always big for us to do that, and it's a big contribution for all of our guests. The guests we didn't have tonight. That didn't sit in the Modern Man Supply Company guest seat, but
thanks for coming.
I know. Thanks a lot, bro. That what's the boxer's name that missed all the guys? I mean, he was hitting as many people there being that chair. So we have a really cool announcement to make. We've taken a lot of pride in the guests that we've had to this point, and we're actually taking it up a notch. Next week, we're very proud to state that 610 Sports Radio's own host, Jay Binkley, is going to actually be on the show with us next week. Man. And if anybody knows anything about Jay, he loves 2 things: beer and football. And that happens to coincide with us because we drink beer every night when we do these shows, and we talk a lot of football. So it's going to be a lot of
water too.
Water too. Sure. Yeah. Shout out to Aquafina. So we're really, really excited about having him on the show. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have a lot of great guests coming up, guys, during the draft season. I don't want to announce them yet. I don't want to put the cart in front of the horses, but I'm just letting you know we're going to have a lot of great people on here, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So stick with us. It's going to be a blast. For Eddie Ortiz, for Trevor Twidwell, for Clay Windler, our producer, shout out to my guy. And for everybody that listens, I am Lance Twidwell. Until next week, we up out of this bitch.
See ya.
We're going to get out of this bitch. Thank you so much for listening, guys.
See ya.
You are tuned in to The Spoke.
I might actually stick around for a little bit.